Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadaya.com.
Yes, indeed. Visit us at yadaya.com. Boy, that site is really developing nicely. Love the new architecture that Joe has enabled, and it's going to give us a lot more capability going forward. I even like the new moon phase system he just put in. Have you checked that one out?
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, so if you put in, for example, the 11th of September of this year, because that's when we're going to observe Tarua, it will show you exactly what the moon's going to look like and give you all the information. You can see, that's about as new a moon as you're ever going to get right there. I just think it's really interesting to be able to play with the technology that he has put in. I mean, you still have to have when is the next Moed Mikre for dummies, so that it says, the next Tarua is on the Friday, the 11th of September. I'm hoping that we end up with a little bit of both, but it was a really nice start technologically to go there. Hello, Will. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Okay.
It's been a short week. Last week I was actually away on vacation. I was in North Carolina, and I had the pleasure of Shannon stopping by to spend the day at the beach with Jake and I and my daughters. So he got to meet them and just watching Jake and Shannon frolic in the water. And you'd never think 50 years separates those two. They're kindred souls.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it was really great. So that's what's new and interesting. And I got back on Sunday night. So.
Okay. Business down there or just vacation?
Just vacation. Just want to see my daughters and get them together with Jake. And,
How old are your daughters?
My daughters, one of them had their birthday down there, but they are 34, 33, and 31.
Okay. You don't seem old enough to have a 33-year-old daughter, but all right.
Yeah. Well, I had my first kid at 23. I started very early.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to begin here with a little trade talk. The United States has decided, Trump has decided that Canadians all need to speak English because he doesn't like French. And that we're going to have a trade war with Canada. It doesn't seem like a very intelligent idea, considering this. If you were to ask me, who do you think was our largest supplier of crude oil, I would have thought that it was Saudi Arabia. But we only get 4.3% of our imported crude from Saudi Arabia. They happen to be third on the hit parade. And we knew Mexico was a significant contributor. They're at 9.6%. But Canada is 62% of America's crude oil imports. And there are like a 99% of our imports of natural gas.
What is wrong?
And like 90% of our imports of uranium. I mean, this is really alarming that with that being the case, and we have all of those refineries in the north that are geared to run heavy crude, and we don't have a source of heavy crude without the Canadian shale oils. And the dumpster wants to upend that.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that it was so large without the big Keystone pipelines and stuff that they're always fighting over. I mean, that capacity is got to be massive because this is 63% now. And this is before any of these pipelines come online, so.
Correct. I don't even think they're building them, are they?
No,
Keystone pipelines? I don't think they're even building them
right now.
Yeah, why would you be building them under these circumstances? And, the Canadians produce a very significant amount of electricity for 5 or 6 northern states, New York included among them. What in the world is he thinking? That it just wants to blow up the world? United States
doesn't want us talking about Iran.
No, Canada is the United States' largest trading partner. And as a percentage of the overall deal, it's not particularly huge in terms of the gap of of exports versus imports. And the fact of the matter is, America just doesn't make anything that anybody else wants or needs.
Mm-hmm.
Of all
So-
people to start a fight with, Canada. We don't have
Yes.
enough on our plate with Ukraine and Iran and China and Russia and everything else. We're going to pick a fight with somebody who we depend on and
Right.
who has been generally politically and otherwise good to the U.S. We share friendly relations. There's not a lot of controversy between the two countries, but he's going to go toe to toe.
Yeah.
Why
No,
not?
That's what he's going to do. That's craziness. I mean, just absolutely craziness that this would happen. But there is your chart. So if you want to know what effect this trade war with Canada is going to have, 62% of America's imported crude and 99% of its imported gas comes from Canada.
Mm-hmm. Buy diesel now.
Buy diesel now. Oh yeah. So this is the lie that turned a conspiracy cult founded by Paul into a religion. The church is the new Israel.
No sentiment is captured, or no sentiment captures the church better than claiming to be the new Israel, or the spiritual Israel, or the true seed of Adam. I mean, this statement
Abraham,
right here,
yeah.
Abraham. This statement here captures it perfectly. This is Christianity's claim, and this is
It
the
is.
claim that drives Dode and Yahweh nuts.
To hate
I mean,
them.
you can't get through a psalm without them mentioning this practically.
Right. Yeah. This is the great wedge between Yahweh and the Gentiles. Is this claim that there is a church that has replaced Israel? That's a church that's the seed of Abraham. This is robbing Yahweh of his people. And of course, it begins by robbing Yahweh of his beloved son. Dode is the son of God, not Jesus. Dode is the Messiah, not that title is particularly important to him. Dode is the former and returning king, and Dode is the savior. And the word church, by the way, doesn't even exist in that goddamn religion. That does not exist. You cannot find the word church in any Greek manuscript through the first 5 centuries of the religion. Not even a word close to church. There is nothing even remotely close to church found in any of the original religious texts. Not even remotely.
Ecclesia, isn't it?
Yeah, ecclesia. It means to call out. Ecclesia cannot be transliterated church, and it cannot be translated church. The only thing close to church in terms of the sound is Church, and Church is the sun goddess of Germanic religion. From where we get to the word circle and circuits and circus and that sort of thing from. So no, the church is an invention of the 6th, 7th century. And this idea that something in this godforsaken religion replaced Israel with God not only has zero support in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, it is routinely condemned throughout the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, all the way to the very end. Every prophetic prophecy to the very end, the last day, is still focused on Israel and Yehudim. And there is no mention of a church in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. There's no mention of Christianity. There's no mention of a Jesus. There's no mention of a Mr. Christ anywhere. And all prophecies point to the restoration of Israel and Yehudim. I mean, this is such a stupid lie, Martin Lloyd-Jones, that you're going to go to hell for it. And I'm going to open the door and kick your ass in. and every other piece of shit Christian that wants to believe this garbage. On behalf of God and behalf of his beloved son and behalf of his people, I'm not going to just kick your ass in. I'm going to make sure that door is locked and never opens. You're going to go to hell. You're a piece of shit. You're a liar. It's deplorable. You rob God of his people and of his son, and you want to pretend like you speak for God? Oh, go to hell. Christianity is the most twisted piece of shit religion ever conceived. And it's the basis of it is inane, that there was a Jesus when there was no such person in the first century Yehuda. The name didn't even exist until the 17th century. And
even before you get to all that, one thing that I have never been a Christian, okay, in any way, shape, or form. One thing I never understood was the idiocy of you kill God's son, and so now you're the guy, you're the chosen people, the church. I never understood that whole allegory of the Romans working the vines and the whole nine yards. Yeah,
the Romans killed the alleged man God. Now, God is not a man, and men cannot kill God. But nevertheless, that's their lie. But they know that it was the Romans that killed their man God, and they know that they falsely blamed the Jews for crucifying their man God so that they could justify their gods coming to hate the Jews and choosing to switch to them, which was the lie of lies. And yet, why would you think that you are going to have this new transfer of all promises when you are the one who killed your alleged God? Because Imperial Rome morphed into the Roman Catholic Church. There's really no distinction between them. How could you be that stupid? Really? Lloyd, what's the matter with you? You got a brain in there between those ears?
No.
Oh, Lloyd.
Clearly. No. Oh, my.
You got one of these on order? You got one of these on order?
Sheesh. Can you imagine? You want to buy a decent luxury sedan. You're looking at $175,000 Mercedes, Audi, BMW, that ilk, and so this is essentially half of that price, and it is better by far than any Rolls-Royce or Bentley. In terms of its features, vastly superior to a Rolls-Royce and Bentley, which would have been $500,000, and it's 1/5 of that price. And the dadgun thing will perform. So, oh my goodness, just take a look at this. Of course, the door has to open for you.
No, this is the best part. This is right here.
Thank you. Right there. Oh, I love that. Isn't that great?
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I think I want one of those.
Now she has shades.
Kevin.
She just blacked it out. Yeah, she just blacked out the window, so she's completely unseeable in there. Now she's going to.
请注意前后人员物体安全。您注意座椅正在展开，请注意前后排人员安全。
Extend the seat as if it really almost a zero gravity. She has an ice box that's now between the seats, so it's a refrigerator that is there. This is look at this. This is a refrigerator for cold beverages. And then if you want to keep your beverage cold, when you put it in there, it has a chiller built into that system.
Oh.
You're a good salesman, Yada. You got
I watched this thing this morning. It was just truly amazing. Here's your tray table.
Ride during Sukkot.
Yep. Put your tray table. Look, isn't that a beautiful tray table?
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
And that is really an elegant looking tray table. And then you have your, you can turn on your massage in your seat or anything else. And there's your phone to operate it. Now, look at that. You sit down in the front seat and the door closes for you. I mean, okay. Diamond wheels to adjust things. Goodness. It's just all the control levels. I mean, this is just so far beyond any American or European car. Touch screens, large touch screens. Yeah.
This is
I like that
why
color.
the
It's a nice
CEO
cream
of Ford
color.
said they were 25 years behind.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
technology.
the CEO of Ford. Well, and this isn't even amongst their top end cars, but when most recently they've seen the performance, because this is a car that has 1,200 mile range, twice American EVs. It charges in under 10 minutes, a quarter of the time of American EVs. It's much faster. It drives much better. It's much smoother. It's much quieter. And look at all the technology. It's amazing how quickly China went from, made in China was a sign that it was a piece of crap,
Mm-hmm.
to made in China means it's the best in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's true.
Well, we have a
We
two
lost your
circles.
cam, Will, but
Yeah,
but
we lost
have
your cam.
uh,
Will.
Yeah.
We have your voice.
we got your audio.
All right.
What
I'm
they-
gonna hop out and hop in, guys. Just give me a
Okay.
minute.
Okay. Yeah.
Continue on.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Thank you,
I've never been in the luxury sedan market. Let's be honest. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
these are very nice, but it just doesn't fit
Yeah.
my lifestyle. you
Yeah,
know?
they don't. You're not going to roll around on the dirt roads on that.
No.
No. They have a new version of the Land Rover, the top end Land Rover. I forgot what the
Mhm,
name of it
mhm.
is, and Defender, and it has individual motors for each of the four wheels and completely independent leveling situations for each of the 4
Mhm.
wheels. That thing will climb almost a vertical cliff.
Right.
And you put it in the most rugged situations, it will actually dance over the rocks. It's truly amazing how advanced they are, even in the SUV side. And on the sports car side, it's not even a comparison. They're making vastly superior sports cars to Ferrari or Lamborghini or any of the others.
And it's interesting you say that, because I'm a race fan, and I watch a fair amount of F1 and things
Mhm.
like that, and there is no Chinese manufacturer. I don't know if they're not allowed, but they're not in any F1. I mean,
Well,
Hyundai.
there'd be no reason
I mean-
no reason for them to be in it. The Chinese have developed almost exclusively electric vehicles. F1 is gas engines,
Sure.
and they their market is for consumers,
hmm
not for to drive around race circuits. And the money they invest isn't to win a badge. Okay, we won the Formula One parade lap. It
Mhm.
is to make a superior vehicle.
Mm.
EVs were not universally popular for a number of reasons prior to the Chinese figuring it out. One was the batteries, lithium ion
Mhm.
batteries, don't have, they weigh way too much.
Mhm.
So that the weight problem is terrible. They catch fire and explode, and that's really uncomfortable if you get caught
Not
in your
good.
car. And they the recharge time is terrible. They perform like crap in cold weather, and the recycle time is not good either. So no range of any. Who's going to drive a car that you just happen in 400 miles, you better find a charging station and you better be ready for a meal by your charging station,
Right.
because you're going to be there 30 or 40 minutes. And who wants to do that?
Mhm.
So the EVs would not be practical cars. And the Chinese solved that. Now these things have 1,100, 1,200, 1,400 mile ranges. They charge in less time than you can fill a car with gas. And so they solved the problems, and then they built all sorts of really spectacular, interesting features into them to make the
Mhm.
cars fun.
Isn't
Yeah,
it great
that's-
when you don't have socialism in the middle of all this? Just all the great things coming out of China, all the innovation, with the free
Yeah.
enterprise zones and what have you. And for a communist nation,
Yes.
they do not have a socialist economy. And
No,
it's actually fun and exciting what can come out of the
Right.
technology and innovation when the government isn't in the middle of it.
Yeah, there was a video I watched last night about a Chinese guy that was born up in on a farm, plucking weeds out of a garden, and then he figured out a way to make refrigerator parts. And then the government got in the way and said, you're not one of the official licensed refrigerator manufacturers, so you're going to have to find something else to do. So he started making motorcycle parts, and he developed a motorcycle that was actually affordable for the Chinese people. And then he started making car parts, and then he started making the car known as the Greely, which is one of the most advanced of the Chinese EVs. And after doing all of that, he made enough money. He now owns Volvo. He now owns, I think it's Lamborghini or something of that ilk. And he is by 3 times over, the largest shareholder of Mercedes-Benz. Man has really made a difference. What free enterprise has enabled China to achieve is astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
My dog. Okay, we have a number of Elon Musk posts because Elon has gone through he's really lost it. Now he wants to be the bomber jacket pilot. I guess he's going to go fly fighters or something. Maybe that's his new look. He's going to try to project himself into that genre. So he is now saying that in 5 years, AI is going to surpass all human intelligence combined. AI is not intelligent. And that's the bottom line. AI can do research for you. They can make movies for you. They can create songs for you. They can do a really crappy job of writing a term paper for you. But I'll still say that 9 times out of 10 that I use AI to do a search, it comes back wrong or misleading. And sometimes it's really wrong and horribly misleading. And it can't think. It doesn't seem capable of learning. I don't know what in the world he is dreaming of, but we're a really long way from, and we don't have that much time, from AI surpassing humanity. Now, to say that it's going to be smarter than most people, I'm not going to have a problem with that. And most people have really dumbed themselves down. They're not thinking. They're not well educated. They don't know how to be discerning or responsible in terms of the expression of logic rules and rhetoric. So, and they don't read, they don't write. So, okay. So having AI surpass the majority is one thing, but all, no. On subjects that I know, whether it be what's wrong with Christianity, what's wrong with Islam, what's wrong with Marxism, what's right with the Torah, who Yahweh is, what he is offering, who Dode is, on questions that I'm an expert on, the Hebrew language. I know an infinite degree more than the AIs. It's not, you can't even make a comparison. They're not even in the game. So on subjects that should be important to humans, like who's God, AIs can't even play. They're not even in the game.
And it also suffers from the same thing that most humans do, is this information overload. It has no discernment as to what is good information and what is bad information. I can amalgamate all the information, but I can't discern which pieces should I throw out. Some people say this, some people say so. It
does not have a filter, and you have to have a filter. And it's way too much by popular appeal, and popular appeal has essentially never been right.
Yes.
And it cannot process, which is innovative. And innovative thinking is how humans progress. And AI will discount innovative thinking all the time for what has been popular. So no, it's just nowhere. It regurgitates bad information, and that seems to be all it's capable of doing. And not all. If you want to make songs, AI is really an interesting thing. Now, if you want to make videos, AI has interest. You want to do a quick search of something, I'll do a quick search of something. But if you want it to think, No.
Yeah.
All right. So here he is saying that he has this chip in his head, and his chip in his head, and the chip in his head runs 2 to 3 times faster than NVIDIA, and it only costs, that chip in his head only costs 10% of NVIDIA. Now the chip doesn't exist outside of his head, and he's not even made a prototype of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no means to manufacture it, even one of them, much less make them at scale. So what in the world is he talking about? I mean, this, you would think that a person like this should put in an asylum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's the guy that comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to build this. I want to build this house. I want to build this restaurant. I want to build this hotel." And he says, "I got all the blueprints right up here." I'm like, fantastic. That does no good to anybody else.
But that's building a house or a restaurant or a hotel that people have done around the world for, thousands of years. Now you're talking about building an AI chip that is effectively built in one place in the world, and you want to, and there's one machine that builds them, and one place that has figured out a way to mass produce them. And you want to take something that you haven't even created a prototype of, that's in your head, and you want to make claims that it is 2 to 3 times better than NVIDIA at 10% of the cost, and you've never built one?
Yeah, they call that
Good
snake
grief,
oil,
it's
right?
just delusional.
Yeah. He's a salesman. That's all.
Step right up, folks. Ladies and
Step
gentlemen.
right up, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I have something special for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make room up front. Yeah, don't crowd up too close. Don't get too close. Don't look under the curtain. Do not look behind that curtain. I will pull the levers. You just stand back.
It's going to be great. It's going to be huge.
Show me your dollars.
It'll be the best ever. Absolutely.
Bigly.
Bigly.
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
goodness.
catch that.
So this is supposed to be a statue of a man that has been skinned alive, and he is wearing his skin, but still standing wearing his skin, because this was a saint that was somehow had his skin taken off, and he's still standing, of course, without
didn't
skin.
bother him at all.
No, it didn't bother him at all.
Little connective tissue missing's not a problem.
Yeah. By the way, you have the majority of your skin no longer functioning. You die. You even take your skin and you paint something on it so that it cannot breathe. You die. So no, it is not possible. But they want to say that this is representing the one that Moshe spoke of. No, the 18th chapter of Devarim, it speaks of Dode, and then they want to say it points to Jesus, and it's and this event where this happened was an argument between 2 people outside of Nazareth, and they want to say, nothing good comes from Nazareth. Well, that part was right. Nothing good comes from Nazareth. Guess why? There was no Nazareth. Nazareth did not exist in first century Yehuda. The only reason that Nazareth got written into the script was because in the 4th century, Constantine's mommy went there and decided that's the place that she thought her Jesus ought to have come from. And so they Eusebius wrote Nazareth into the script, not knowing that it didn't even exist in the 1st century. I mean, just how stupid do you have to be? By the way, not only was there no Nazareth in 1st century Yehuda, guess what there also wasn't in 1st century Yehuda? Jesus.
Jesus. Right.
But how gruesome is the Catholic Church? I remember when I was in high school, and I went to a cult high school, and we read encyclicals, and we read the Code of Canon Law, and we read, one of the books we studied was Butler's Lives of the Saints, and it's filled with just gruesome accounts of the most famous saints laughing while being tortured and giving glory to God through it all. And but it's just gruesome. It is just sick and gruesome. And why would you celebrate it and make a statue? Why would anybody want to remember shit like that?
Because the alleged torture of Christians is made up to sell the religion. The religion has no credibility. Its scriptures are a garbled a pile of shit. There's no contemporaneous eyewitness account of the existence of a Jesus, not even in the Christian materials and not in the secular materials. He never existed. And every quote from the Torah and prophets to try to prove him is grossly misrepresented and errantly cited. So there is no credibility in the religion. God's not a man. Men cannot kill God. The religion is horrible. And, there's 300,000 known variances between the oldest manuscripts and the Textus Receptus. 300,000, only 184,000 words. There's more variances than there are words. I mean, it's just a shithole, the entire basis of Christianity. And so when you have done nothing but rob God's son and God's people to create your lie, you have to have something that would cause people to want to believe it. Yeah. So they came up with this whole martyrs thing of people like this being tortured and still keeping the faith, and that's their miracle. Yeah. Well, guess what? There's zero evidence that they were tortured. One of the arguments that was originally made in favor of Christianity, Josh McDowell, Evidence That Demands a Verdict. His big claim was that proof that Jesus existed is that the disciples all died horrible deaths, and they would have died horrible deaths had they not seen the risen Jesus. Well, first of all, there was no ever recording anywhere in the world of a man coming back to life after being crucified. And you had Rome there, and they were really literate. They wrote everything down, and Israel is on the crossroads of the world, and there isn't a single document or any shred of evidence that says that occurred. And there isn't any evidence in the Christian scriptures or anything that would be considered even remotely credible of there being disciples. And there's no evidence that said disciples died horrible deaths. So what you've done is you've gone back from a whole stream of lies, and then you backdated the justification for those lies. And you call that logic? You call that evidence? No, and that's what this is. So they made up all of the Fox's Book of Martyrs. It's all rubbish. They made it up.
Anecdotal evidence, which you just indicted recently, is an inferior. Yeah. It's not even evidence. It doesn't qualify as evidence.
No, it isn't. Listen, first of all, the Romans, when they recorded everything, and what the Romans had to say was quite different. The Romans said, "Good God, this Christian sect is driving us crazy. They want to be martyrs. Oh my God, if they want to kill themselves, we'll sell them the rope." We'll sell them the knife, go kill yourself if that's what you want to do, but don't bother us. I mean, that's the truth. And they can't deal with that because without martyrs, you got no religion. But let's just pretend there really were Christian martyrs, and that was the justification for being a Christian. And what would you say about Islam, where Muslims every day are willing to take their own lives because of Allah? Does that make Allah real? Or does that make Muslims deceived? Which is it?
That's a good
and if you can't answer that question, then you're really stupid. But if the moment you can answer that question, you realize this is really stupid, and there is no justification for making the claim between a martyr and the validity of a religion. None.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it the original use of the victim status? I mean, because you think about the highest thing in socialism is the victim, the oppressed, right? Fighting for the oppressed, the minorities, whatever, you know. I mean, and so Palestinian tries to play the victim card all the time. You know what I mean? And so, and is that this?
Well, there's
Christianity
no Palestinians,
started
but you're
this whole
talking
thing?
about Muslims always want to play the victim. They are the victim. They're the worst victimizer of any religion in human history, and they want to play the victim card after they've been victimizers for 1,000 years and then terrorists for another 400 years after that, and they want to play the victim card. There is considerable esprit de corps that comes from being a victim, and who knows why that is the case. I mean, talk about the human psyche. Why would being victimized, failing, being abused, be a cause celeb that you would rally around? You would think you would want to rally around success, but of course, in Islam, they have no success, so they can't rally around that. So they choose victimization. What a terrible thing. Yeah, boy, we're really great because nobody loses better than we.
Right.
We're the best ever at losing and being oppressed, so we must be the best.
And people
we're the
lap it
best
up.
at being oppressed, so oh my. Yeah, people lap it up. Oh my God. They want to make Mao Zedong the worst human ever lived. He wouldn't even be in the top 50. You know, Stalin and Hitler, for modern age, you'd have them up there at the top, but not as 2 and 3. It's a person that has no concept of history. I mean, the Roman emperors would all be high on this list. The Mongols would all be high on this list. Muhammad, in terms of creating something that's toxic, would be number 1 on that list.
I was going Paul, Akiba, Muhammad. It's always a toss.
Well,
you know,
if you just want,
Plus, Muhammad's got the stats, man. He's got the body count.
Stats. Yeah. Paul doesn't have the stats. And all Paul has is, I mean, I'm going to treat Paul as probably the single worst person that ever lived. But in terms of dealing with genocidal people, and this is really what they're trying to position here is death count. Because, you know, Hitler didn't create a philosophy that had any staying power. And Stalin wasn't the creator of a philosophy. He was he just somebody who stepped into it, and that philosophy died not long after him. So if you really want to blame the people who invented evil religions, then you could put Paul at the top of it. If you want to put death count, then you could put Muhammad at the top of it. But you know, world's filled with really, really despicable people throughout history, and this is myopic in thinking we're going to start, you know, at the turn of the previous century. No, it's absurd. So all I would say is that these are despicable human beings, but they're not the most despicable. But it does explain why God hates people.
A lot of communist dictators on there. Maybe they're MAGAs.
Well written by a Israel official. And how somebody who's a Jew couldn't put Hadrian, Paul, Hadrian, Akiba. I mean, look at Akiba. I mean, what could Akiba did to them? Look what Maimonides did to them. And you wouldn't put Saladin up there. You wouldn't put Muhammad up there. You're out of your mind. What part of reality don't you get? These little robots mowing the lawn and saying, "Oh boy, you know, this is just going to be great. You know, you can buy an Optimus for under $30,000, and okay, so it would take a long time to pay off the Optimus if it does a crappy job of mowing your lawn, but it can do, you know, 10 or other, you know, maybe 12 other household things. Like if you give it 4 hours, it can empty your dishwasher, and you're not going to give it your crystal because it would destroy it, but you could give it, your plastic dishes if you're up for it, and you didn't mind that it took 4 hours to empty it, and that didn't drive you crazy. But you know, this is trying to sell Optimus as a consumer product, And Optimus is not a consumer product. The reality is that Elon Musk predicted that Optimus would be mass produced and sold in the hundreds of thousands by this year. That is not going to happen. They're not going to be sold in mass quantities even next year. Optimus will probably never be mass produced.
Mhm.
There are too many variables that are unresolved. Where do you get the actuators? Where do you get the rare earths? What AI chip is going to go into this thing? Because quite frankly, that is forever away from being manufactured. There's still
His is still in his head.
prototypes of-
Elon's
Yeah.
is still in his head.
Oh, that one that he has for this, they've actually created one experimental chip, but never manufactured one. All of the things that go into making a factory for these things so they could actually mass produce them, it's too many variables that are unresolved. They'll never get the supply line for them, and then there's no way to test them. And you're going to put something that potentially dangerous in a home, it's going to kill people.
Well, have you
And-
seen? There's the robotic Olympics or whatever in Beijing going on either recently or now. Have you seen the videos coming out of there of the robots fighting, the robots running?
Did
they're
you see
doing
the one
long
that
jumps and
broke
stuff?
Usain Bolt's running record?
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they're good for stuff
They all
like
blow
that.
up at the end. I mean, spoiler alert, all the robots, whatever they do, they all explode in fire. That there are men with fire extinguishers within 5 foot of them at all times. And this is
Yes.
Beijing.
Well,
this
that's
is the ones
cool.
that are doing it right.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that
here,
are
yeah, right
top
here.
of the-
You're not going to be able to use lithium-ion batteries, which is what
Mhm.
Tesla makes. There is no AI chip that will power them effectively. There is no supply chain of actuators, and there's no way to test them to have them not blow up and not harm people. And there is really no homeowner test that they can do. And oh, by the way, they are never going to be sold for under $30,000.
$30,000. You can't buy
No.
a car for under $30,000 and it has
No,
more
and
utility.
they're not going to be effective at any consumer responsibility. You're going to use them for babysitting. Yeah, you're going to have them. Your kid means so little to you. You would trust your kid with one of these?
They won't let them dog
I wouldn't
walk.
trust it to walk my dog. Not a prayer. I might trust it to walk a cat because I don't like cats very much. But
Oh man! All right, Matt. He was just kidding. That was a joke.
We'll fix
was
it
a
in post.
joke,
It's
Matt.
okay.
Calm down, Matt.
Yeah, there we are. Dog people and cat people. Yeah, this is. Oh, by the way, the lawnmower there, it's a Tesla lawnmower, of course.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. It's
They
just-
do have robotic or remote control lawnmowers that are fairly effective, but they don't
They are
have.
now. You see them
the
on golf
people, but
courses
yeah.
all the time now. That
Mhm.
yes, and you don't need the stupid,
Optimus behind it. Yeah.
Optimus
Yeah.
to walk behind it, and you can buy one for a fraction of the of this cost, and it'll do a much better job of
Mhm.
mowing your lawn. The whole thing is nothing but hype, and the reason it's nothing but hype at this point, and Tesla in particular, they are way behind the curve, and there is no defensible technology here, so there's no margin. When you don't have a defensible technology advantage, there is no margin. If there's no margin, there's no justification for large expenditures and no shareholder return. And he is at this point, Optimus is way behind the curve in terms of robotics. And with Tesla automobiles and free fall, and they can't compete on the world markets anymore. What in the world is this hype on Optimus somehow solving that problem? You got to hold Tesla stock. I think you got to be crazy. It's at least 100 times overpriced.
Mhm.
If you strap a diaper bag on Optimus, then the president can help promote it.
Oh well, yeah. Well,
He can also wipe his ass. There you go.
it would have to look like the head tweeter for him to promote it. They do. They make those in China too.
Mhm.
The ones that look like the head tweeter.
Right.
So
This is good.
you listen to Carney here. He says, so you really think they're going to want a trade war against us when we are at this percentage? And he was just going over their energy issues. And you're saying, oops, I don't think so. Listen.
Another prominent justification for U.S. tariffs has been their claim that since the United States runs, quote, a trade deficit with Canada, we were ripping them off. Also a quote. But the U.S.'s narrow merchandise trade deficit only exists because the U.S. buys so much of its energy from Canada. Canada fuels American growth, supplying 99% of their natural gas imports, 85% of their electricity imports, 60% of their crude oil imports. I don't think they want us to stop sending any of that energy.
Oopsie, unintended consequences. Well, I will give Carney credit. He is the one dude that doesn't give a crap about Donald Trump. He will lay it right on and say, no, I don't think they're going to play with us. Here's the situation. We decide that we want to shut down trade with the United States. The northern states go dark. Their refineries stop operating. And he didn't even mention potash. Their crops don't grow.
Fertilizer.
They have no uranium for their ships. We're their largest also source of aluminum, so they can't make airplanes. No, I'm sorry there, pal, but Trump, you are dumb as shit. You picked the
such an
wrong
idiot.
war.
You know, there is this big trade imbalance, but what they never tell you is that most of these countries take that trade imbalance and they buy our debt. That's part of the wink, wink, nod of the trade imbalance. We don't just allow a trade imbalance. They have to put that back into the country. So Canada's not ripping us off.
Let's talk about trade imbalance. A trade imbalance means that the country that is on the short side of that has very few things that the country that's on the long side of it needs or wants. And the country that's on the short side of it has looks at the country that is the supplier and says, boy, there's a lot of things there that we want. 100% of what we import from China is because somebody in the United States chose to buy it. They said, you know, of all the places that we could acquire this, the best value proposition is from China. So rather than being ripped off by China, China is offering the single best deal on that product, whether it be oil or gas or aluminum or potash or cars or airplanes, whatever it may be, that 100% of what comes in the United States was not forced on the United States. It was purchased by somebody making an intelligent decision that says the best value proposition on that product is to buy it from that Canadian source. That's 100% of the import side. And the same decisions are made on the export side. And so all it says is that the country that you have the deficit with is able to make things and supply things at a value proposition better than the country on the negative side. So there's no ripping anybody off in trade.
Right.
That's why trade should always be free. Now, can you push the buttons and you can say we're going to put a tariff on some product because we need to protect a national sector? Yes, you can do that, and it always backfires. The moment you protect a sector, like look at Tesla. Tesla was protected against Japanese EV imports, and they lost their competitiveness. So that Tesla can't compete in any foreign country. You can only sell cars now in America because America puts 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. If that 100% tariff on China EVs went away, Tesla would go away in the United States. So what happened is that Tesla lost its competitive edge because of those kinds of tariff decisions. They always backfire. But countries will do it for votes. That's the nature of the government. So they'll do it for short-term votes, and it always backfires.
Protectionism.
Oh, wow. You know, I am just so proud of UK. Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Look at that tank. I am so impressed. You now are ready to fight the last World War.
Mm-hmm.
You had really crappy tanks back then, but now you are ready to fight the Second World War. I am so impressed. Number 3, tank in the world. Isn't that swell? At a time when tanks are an absolute worthless piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Israel will buy them.
Well, Israel needs them now because they lost 40% of their tanks in the last Lebanon war. Why?
Right.
Because
That's
you
right.
can buy a $200 drone and it can beat the tank's defense systems against drones. And so Israel lost a huge amount of the tanks. So Israel can't even use its battle tanks anymore. And Russia, they remember all that huge, massive display of battle tanks. You don't see that anymore. Why? Because the battle tank is useless. Remember in the Desert Storm, how the tanks were coming and then the tanks just vanished. No, a tank is a rolling coffin. They have literally no value. So very, 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 very good, UK. You have an aircraft carrier. You have 2 aircraft carriers without airplanes, and now you have a tank without a place to deploy it. Or, by the way, even Army personnel to hop in it. It's lovely. It's got a nice net for your drone. So here I've got the best battle tank, and all I can do is provide a net.
They don't even realize the mismatch. I mean, their bellicose rhetoric with Russia. You would think they were ready to go, and they're not.
Oh God!
Western Europe is not ready for the Russian
UK.
bear.
The UK is. I mean, I'm delighted by this because I think that the UK has been one of the most dangerous, oppressive players in the world with their colonialization and what they have done in the world to China and India in particular, but all over the world. And they did it by having the biggest navy in the world. And that navy is gone. I mean, it's just gone. They've got nothing now. And the decision to build those 2 aircraft carriers was a absolute boondoggle. Neither of them have any value whatsoever. They're just total liabilities, and there are no escort ships. They're trying to. You can't have a carrier without escort ships, and the 2 escort ships are like 60, 70, 80 years old, and they're only if they ever got rid of the rust, they would sink. Boy, America just lost one of its very few flagged merchant ships in the Pacific 2 days ago. And it is the thing that now causes me to have the biggest concern over a vessel. It was on the seals of the propeller shaft that it's sprung a leak and it sunk. Crew bailed it out, and so this huge, 700-800 foot ship sunk. And I've experienced that. I had a really derelict captain after we started redoing this house, and I didn't live on the boat anymore, and I couldn't perform as the captain of Cara. I hired a captain because boats deteriorate very quickly if they're not used. And he didn't do one of the things that you have to do, which is that you have to exercise the engines and the props on a boat at least once a week, and sometimes twice a week is better. And if you don't put her in gear forward and aft while at the dock and run those engines, those seals dry out. So he didn't do it, and we took the yacht out for a cruise, and immediately on starting the engines, they seized on that seal, and it broke it. And by the time we got back to the dock, because he didn't do engine checks, which is another thing that you do once an hour underway, he didn't do it, and so just lazy. And so get back, and there's 4 feet of water in the engine room of it, and there's no way to even get to the seal that has failed. And he didn't know how to run a pump, couldn't find where the pumps are. I had to come back, provide the pumps, get it pumped out. Had a friend delivered a mechanic to reshore up that seal, but we were within 30 minutes of Kara being on the bottom.
Wow.
Anyway, out of way to go, UK, man. You're all ready to go. I know why you're trying to antagonize the Ruskies now.
That'll scare them. Those tanks will scare them for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so Elon Musk wants to show you the scale of the solar system, and he's going to brag that his whole goal is to get to the fourth rock from the sun. Yeah, there he is. You can even listen to him. He can barely speak.
And our goal is to go to the fourth rock on the left. That's Mars. But you can get a sense for the real scale of the solar system, how big the sun is, and Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, and then the little guys on the right are Pluto and friends. This is an actual scale of what the solar system looks like.
It's not. They're all bunched up too close together there. I mean, if he was going to do that, one would be in the next room. Pluto would be in the next.
No kidding. But the conclusion there is we're the third rock, and we want to go to the fourth rock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mission accomplished. You didn't do it, but we've been to that fourth rock like 100 times. Mm-hmm. We have rovers there. We have probes there. We have satellites there. We have checked out everything there is to check out on that fourth rock from the sun. And what we have found is that it's nothing but death there.
We're not living there.
And so we've already been there. We've already done that. You don't need to do it, and you weren't part of it. So what are you talking about? That's what you want to do, because the fact is it's already been done, and you weren't part of it. And this idea that you're going to go there with humans is unbelievably stupid. That is to say, I'm going to send humans to die on Mars. They may not even successfully land on Mars, because that would take a miracle. And they may not even reach Mars alive. And we may not even get them to Mars alive. But by the time they get to Mars, they're going to be unable, even if they were not to try to land and they were to try to come back, they would not be able to come back to Earth. There is a 0% possibility that anyone is going to Mars that's going to return to Earth. And there is no chance anybody that's going to Mars is going to live any length of time. And the likelihood of them living any time at all is about 0. Mm-hmm. So what's the purpose? You want to go send somebody to die? They have to live, underground anyway. So, why not dig a hole in the ground? You got a nice boring company. Dig a hole in the ground. You can call it Mars if you want. And you don't have the problem of the gravity being wrong. You don't have the problem of having no atmosphere. You don't have the problem of having no water. You don't have the problem of the soil being so contaminated. You don't have cosmic ray problems. You don't have the travel time problems. You don't have any other issues. Just dig a hole in the ground.
Go back to the chip. Forget Mars.
Oh yeah. Continue to play with the chip in your mind, and you won't care. You can imagine you were there. So here's the Donald. Canada has been ripping off the United States. How are they ripped off the United States? Mm-hmm. I want to question. It's a simple question. Who made the decision to buy those products, and why did they make the decision to buy those products? Why do you buy Canadian, or why is Canadian natural gas 64% of
90? Carney said
no,
90.
Gas is 99% of the natural gas that America imports comes from Canada, crude. And some 60+% of the crude oil that America imports comes from Canada. Do you think that maybe that choice was made on market principles? Do you understand free enterprise and how people make decisions as to what they want to buy? And people put up money. I mean, the companies that sell gasoline in this country and diesel are fairly adept at making value decisions, and they made a value decision that said that oil with our refineries and that geographic position at this price is a better value than buying it from Saudi Arabia. So how is that being ripped off? Mm-hmm. Seriously. I mean, so there is no ripping off. That is the talk of a child in a sandbox.
And a demagogue.
Oh, absolutely. And, America wouldn't have farm products if it wasn't for the potash that they get from Canada. You couldn't grow anything. So these great American patriots, he wants to pretend that the farmers that he screwed with his China tariffs.
Argentina. Mm-hmm.
And now the ranchers that he's screwing with his, Argentine beef is so crappy and so disease-ridden. The Chinese tried to buy it, and even the Chinese wouldn't take it. So now America will take it, and we're going to screw the American rancher. And so these are the great patriots. He could care less about them.
Mm-hmm.
Not sustainable, not anymore. What isn't sustainable? Doing business, making rational decisions based on economic principles. And then he says that America is 95% of their business. That 95%, right there, that by your beard there, it's 95% of Canada's business is with the United States. No, it's not. It's 70%. High.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 70% because America can't do without the product that Canada supplies. But you're going to be the president of the United States. You can't say shit like this and have all your facts wrong. And you can't say we don't need Canada, they need us. No, it's not true. There is nothing the United States makes that Canada needs to survive. Nothing.
Canada will
Canada
be
has
treated like a state no longer. What the hell does that mean? Canada will be treated as a state no longer? Did he just strip Canada of its sovereignty? I mean, we own it now? What the fuck is...
Yeah, I don't know what does he mean it won't be treated like they're being treated like the 51st state? What does he mean by that?
You're trying to say, what does an insane, demon-possessed man mean by his rhetoric?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And when he says, I don't need Canada, they're almost 70% of your energy imports come from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need Canada.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's preposterous.
And 90% of your 99% of your electricity imports come from Canada, but you don't need Canada. All right, we'll see how that plays out there, a-hole. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
Yes, we were just buying their cheap energy from them to be nice. We were just doing them such a favor by buying our, right?
While getting screwed.
Oh yeah, no, but those the oil companies that needed heavy crude for their refineries, they were just doing it to be ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they were making that decision. Yeah, the people that run those oil companies, they're really stupid. They were doing it to be ripped off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the consumers that were buying Canadian electricity, they were doing it to be ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. This is really amazing here, this next slide. Mm-hmm. So what they're showing here is that the USS Nimitz, CVN 68, is headed to mothballs. It's being decommissioned. In other words, the rust is no longer holding up. So there she is. She's coming in. She'll be decommissioned. So back in the day, it was doing Shattering Mist. That was the big deal that America had 13 battle groups, 13 aircraft carrier battle groups, and how amazing that was when at the time there were only 3 other aircraft carriers in the world. One was a diesel relic by Russia, and Russia had sold the hull of another one to China that they were trying to retrofit. That, yeah. And then there were the 2 that were Great Britain that could only handle Harriers, and now the Harrier's too old to fly, and they won't handle anything else. They can't afford anything else. They got 2 aircraft carriers, only one of which floats at a time, and no airplanes for them. So America was the last country playing in the aircraft carrier world until China says, "Oh, what the hell? We make 70% of the world's ships, and we have 90% of the world's ship bookings going forward. We can make aircraft carriers at a fraction of the cost. Let's have some. It's a rounding error for us." And so China has now 3 of them. So I was curious. So the Nimitz is being decommissioned. That's one of the alleged 11 So I decided I would go through the rest of them. So there's the Nimitz up front. It's was commissioned in 1975. It's 51 years old. I'll tell you things that the ocean is really caustic.
Mm-hmm.
And something that is steel in the ocean, bad combination. It really, really caustic. 51 years is way beyond a functional life. So the Nimitz is now gone. So you got the Dwight D. Eisenhower. It's in dry dock. Okay, well, you got the Carl Vinson. It's undergoing maintenance. Well, then you got the Theodore Roosevelt. It's dockside and maintenance in San Diego. Well, then you got the Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if you read about the Abraham Lincoln, but it's a shit show. Man, they don't have laundry detergent. They don't have soap. They don't have food. They got sailors jumping overboard. So it's headed back to America, and it'll be put night-night for a good long time. It's a shit show. Okay, well, then you have the USS George Washington. It's 34 years old. You know what's going? It's going into the Arabian Gulf to relieve the shit show of the Lincoln. Okay, so that's one aircraft carrier that is, we can say we got one that's functional, and that is the, we got the Harry S. Truman, not the Harry S. Truman, it's the George Washington. The George Washington, 34 years old, going into the Arabian Sea. All right, so then you keep on going down the list here. The USS John Stennis, number 74, age 31 years. It's in dry dock. The Harry S. Truman, commissioned in 1998, 28 years old. It is in dry dock.
Now, dry dock,
right,
just to be clear.
You got the USS Ronald Reagan. Surely Ronnie's up and going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Ron's in dry dock. Then you got the George H.W. Bush. That is the second functional aircraft carrier, and it's also in the Arabian Sea. And then you got the USS Gerald R. I can't run a laundry or my potties don't flush.
Yep.
And it's in dry dock for the next 2 to 3 years. So you got two functional aircraft carriers. And where are they both? They're both in the Arabian Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even have port of call.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them. And they're both in the Arabian Sea. So much for America's ability to project a force and having all these fancy aircraft carriers. We got 2 that are functional right at the moment. That's
There was
how
a
bad
U.S.
America's
There was a
fallen.
U.S. admiral, Yada, that was speaking about the fact that China has developed. I think we talked about this. What's called a carrier killer. It's almost like an ICBM where they shoot it straight up into the air and it comes up over the aircraft carrier and comes straight down. There's no defense for it. There's nothing we can do from a missile coming straight above and coming down. And he said our aircraft carriers are essentially sitting ducks with that weapon.
Well, that's only part of the problem. And that's true. They have those. They also have essentially an unlimited number of shore-to-ship missiles that have a 1,500-mile range. And an aircraft carrier can defend itself against 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5. But 10, 25, 100, not a chance in hell. So that's the second way they die. The third way they die is that most developed nations, including China, have high-speed torpedoes that don't hit the ship. They explode underneath the keel of the ship. And you put an air bubble underneath the keel of an aircraft carrier, and it goes...
Break its back.
Just breaks it back. It would take 30 seconds to sink. 5,000 men die. And then there's the drone swarms that will take down any one of these aircraft carriers. They aren't worth a shit. They are floating coffins that have no value. And America continues to spend all this money for them, and they have no use. They're complete waste of time and money in in defeating a significant enemy. So between all those factors and the hypersonic missiles now,
Yeah.
I mean, the Russians and the Chinese both have a hypersonic maneuverable missile that an aircraft carrier has a zero chance of avoiding. So yeah, the aircraft carrier is useless. The Navy knows they're useless. And the furthest that any airplane on an aircraft carrier has in terms of range is well under 2,000 nautical miles, which means the aircraft carrier on an ideal mission with the target on the shore and no glitches along the way and no fighters or no missiles or nothing it has to detour around on the way, and flying very high and very slow to maximize their range, the aircraft carrier has to be less than 1,000 miles offshore.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't last 15 minutes 1,000 miles offshore. So what's the purpose?
Admirals like their big toys, big budgets and big toys.
They like their big toys. Two of them. So we have right now a fleet of two.
Mm-hmm. Both deployed
Two,
with no
two
port.
functional cores, both in the same place, both torturing men in the Arabian Sea for no purpose whatsoever other than to make the world more dangerous and to bankrupt economies. Nicely done. You know, it's not very often that you actually hear something correct from RFK or TC. But here you go. Yeah, this is the proof that the broken clock is right twice a day. These two dunderheads are saying that no one in Europe or America wants the war that is killing so many Ukrainians that now requires women to go die for the military-industrial complex. They don't want it to end. You know, the fact of the matter is the Minsk II Accords were highly favorable to Ukraine, lost very little territory in them. The Ukrainians were absolutely ready to sign, and they were specifically told by Boris Johnson and America, don't sign. And so this idea that we're trying to move the Russians to the negotiating table is an absolute lie. They agreed to very favorable terms for Iran, for Ukraine, and it was the West that said, no, you can't sign them. So this is a travesty. And for the most part now, this war is over. The Russians are very close to having all the territory they needed to protect the ethnic Russians, and they have turned Ukraine into a rump state that you can't import anything, you can't export anything, you can't import anything, and nothing works within the Ukraine. And the more that the UK and Germany supply in terms of drones and missiles to attack Russia, the madder it makes Russia and the more vulnerable it makes Europe. So, I mean, there's nothing here now to do but to say, wow, that was really stupid. We made a terrible mistake of using Ukraine for a proxy to go kill Russians. But that's what they want.
The only reason this sees the light of day is because he's blaming Biden for the whole thing. I mean, that's the only reason that RFK says anything, is because, well, it's Boris Johnson and the Biden administration that wouldn't let him, sign it, and so it was like, we know that
when he's right, he misses the point.
He misses the point. Yeah.
Yes.
Trump.
Yeah.
Trump was
well. That is true.
And both is too.
Right. Trump has actually stopped selling munitions or offering munitions to Ukraine. We still supply a lot of munitions, but they're purchased by NATO. And he says, we have no U.S. cost except for the fact that the U.S. is the largest supplier of funds to NATO. So he hasn't figured that part out yet. And from a moral point of view, there's no difference in giving your weapons and selling your weapons. And there's still ongoing deals that were made during the previous administration to send more weapons to Ukraine. And when he was president at 45, He sent many weapons to Ukraine, including the anti-tank weapons that Ukraine used to
Javelins.
eliminate tanks from the battlefield. So Trump is as guilty as Bush, as Obama, as Biden. They're all equally guilty in creating this mess in Ukraine where just lots of people die. But it's the biggest disaster of the Ukraine war is truth, and how easy it was to fool the majority of Americans and Europeans into believing the Russians were the aggressors and that the Ukrainians were fighting for freedom, when not even remotely true. America started the war. America armed the war. The Ukrainians were the first aggressors militarily after the regime change that America sponsored. And America has been the weapon supplier for this war. And they started the war for only one reason. They wanted to topple the Russian government and steal Russian assets. That's what they do. That's why the war exists. Yeah, so the United States is giving serious consideration for changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. The problem here is there's nobody in the U.S. government that you could call serious. There's no one that I would use the term consideration.
Yeah.
And this, we're not going to do business with Ontario, is to say, boy, we really don't need oil and gas for our to run America. Well, we're going to shake the magic wand and we'll be just fine. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
So petty.
And by the way, the United States means Trump himself. Trump is the United States. Yes.
Yeah.
There is no United States.
Right? No.
Nobody in the United States is giving serious consideration. It's Trump himself and his head tweet. And he's not serious, and he doesn't consider anything.
That's the problem.
Pathetic.
We're gonna run out of America names. We can't have the Strait of America and the Gulf of America and Lake America and Mount America. We're gonna run out of names before long, right? We're gonna have to.
Well, just call it. Was going to call the planet America.
Yeah.
But then he won't like that. He left and wanted it to be called Trump. Welcome to Planet Trump. So, here's the thing that the same spiel that Canada is responsible for 99% of America's natural gas, 85% of America's electrical imports, 60%. It's actually 65% of their crude imports. So I don't think they're going to want to be stopped sending any of that energy to America. Trump is an absolute idiot, and he forgot the fact that the United States relies on over 95% of its potash fertilizer needs.
Well, and you added uranium. That was a new one to me. Uranium.
Yeah,
and
uranium.
aluminum.
Yeah, they're the primary supplier of America's uranium. They're a major supplier of aluminum too, and the only other rival was the Persian Gulf because of the energy required to make aluminum. You can't make airplanes without aluminum. Oops. So he's saying, we'll just go do business with the EU. No, you won't. And so the EU is the second biggest market. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, but in the EU, Canada can't compete. Really, Canada can't compete. You really have no way to get your heavy crude there, and they don't have refineries for heavy crude, so that's not going to help you at all. And you're not going to sell them electricity, so that's just not going to happen. So where are you on all of this? Your only option is China. That's which they did the last time, and that is your only option. So you can give lip service to the EU, but the off-ramp is China. Yep, here he is again. Elon Musk, satellites are just solar panels and a battery. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. That's all they are, solar panels and batteries. No electronics. No, they're just some little solar panels and batteries. That's all. That's how satellites work. With Starlink satellite network, there are over 7,000, all 10,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, and they're just solar panels and a battery. And so he's saying that solar panels and batteries are going to be the primary source of electricity power for the Earth. Now, I'll tell you something. I sit beneath 425 kW solar panels, 100 of them. And I have 6 Tesla Powerwalls. And we don't produce as much electricity as we consume in one home with 2 people and a couple of friends and some fur faces that live in it. We do not produce
42 kilowatts, 42 kilowatts of panels on your roof. That's
correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And six Tesla
that's what I use
Powerwalls.
in a day.
Right. 6 Tesla Powerwalls. They're 13.5 kilowatt hours of storage. 6. They're massive, these Tesla Powerwalls. I have 6 of them. And I have 100 425 panels on my roof. And the only reason we did it is because the power here in the Virgin Islands is so unreliable.
Well,
and so
it's like 50 cents a kilowatt hour, isn't it? 50.
Yeah, it's 5 times more expensive than it is stateside per kilowatt hour. And it's unreliable. And not is it only unreliable in terms of access to it, there are brownouts and spikes that destroy equipment. And we have too much invested in what we're trying to do here to allow that to happen. And yet the payback would be, 15 years. So if you're doing it for financial reasons, the payback is 15 years. And if you put it in a place where power is reasonably priced, you'd never get a payback. You never get a return. So no, solar panels are not the future. They're too, and batteries aren't either. They're way too inefficient.
Yeah. Solar only works when electricity is priceless, when you have to have it.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
I mean, it's.
Yeah. If you're out there off grid and you have to have something, then solar with a generator that you can somehow fuel, the combination of the two will allow you to function off grid. You're not going to function off grid with just solar panels and a battery.
Yeah. That's crazy. 42 kilowatts. That's literally what will run my entire house for 24 hours. I use on average during the summer. Okay. It's much less during the winter, but running an air conditioner is 42 kilowatts a day is what I average. And of course you need that because you get 3-4 good hours of 42 and that's it. I mean, nighttime, you're not producing anything, right? Of course. And then in the low afternoon suns, I mean, the fall off is huge.
9 to 3, 6 hours a day. We get back to production here. I mean, you couldn't be in a better place. We're in the tropics.
To the equator.
Yeah, and you couldn't get a better place to run solar, and still it's not an economic decision. You make the decision for the same reason we made all the decisions and all the gear we have here.
Yeah, have to have it. Yeah, I've got solar, but it's mine. I got 4.5 kilowatts. Okay, that's 10%. It keeps my lights on.
Okay. Another lunatic wants to blame the Jews. So here's this guy, and he wants to talk about toxic beef coming from Argentina. But what does he say? It's to prop up the Israeli vassal
of Argentina.
He couldn't say that it's just another scumbag idea from the dumpster to screw Americans while he's got some grift here deal. No, he can't just lay it on the dumpster. Got to always blame Israel. What is it about people that I mean, Israel has nothing to do with the U.S. cattle situation and cattle ranching, or it's inflation. Nothing. God, just leave Israel out of it. Go and vomit on somebody else, please.
Conspiracy theorists that have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, here he is again. So he is talking about Elon Musk says that Starlink will soon run a single account that covers your home internet and your phone. Oh boy, high-speed internet beamed directly from the satellite to your phone. No cell towers, no carriers, no middlemen. Well, there's a real problem with Starlink. It's oversubscribed.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's oversubscribed, and this would make it worse, then everybody is throttled. And there's all sorts of interruptions. And because you're bounced from one satellite to another constantly, there's always packet loss. And, this is our first program where Rich has figured out a way to take, now we have 2 Starlink accounts because we live on an island, and it's quasi uncivilized. And so we have 2 quasi. Yeah,
I was gonna say
we're gonna have roads sometime next century. They say we have a power distribution, but for no apparent reason, we have no hospital. It's and our government, if it wasn't for graft, they would have no budget. So what he figured out how to do was to take 2 satellites and then bring them together so that it's a joint feed. And with the joint feed, he was able to move our uplink from, it was registering about 12 megabytes up, which is what we care about, to 80 megabytes up. The down stayed about the same. So we'll have to see how well it works. So far, no glitches in this program. We are recording here, if there were, but that's what we have. So this was Rich. He was here till about 11 o'clock last night, and then he still got some redoing with replacing some switches and restringing some lines, and ultimately we have to put some panels on the roof and do some other things. But
it's better.
It's better. So
we've been solid all show.
Yeah, we had a nice conversation about double teaming with Riverside, and I kept on waiting for Rich to chime in. He says, "Listen, I'm rolling as fast as I can." I don't know, because Rich, you weren't here from 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock this morning, so I think you're shirking your responsibility. So I think you could roll a little faster, personally.
Absentee, Rich. What's going on with you?
Yeah, Perry was hitting with most of the time too. I don't know what Perry, I think, was moral support for the most part.
Good job, Rich. Good job, Rich.
Yeah,
Keep going.
yeah.
You need some water.
Get away, Rich. Well, moral support is.
Can I hold a flashlight?
Actually, Perry is quite adept in technology.
We love Perry.
He is quite adept in technology. So Perry was quite helpful, and he actually strung some of the lines for Rich, and was another set of hams. But it's also moral support when you're, because I don't function that late. My eyes don't handle it anymore. I have to have downtime. So Rich,
that's why I'm making coffee at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's why he's making coffee at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, he and his cup of coffee. We're drinking coffee and Rich.
That's nothing like that 30-second pot of coffee of the day. I tell you, that nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned when I was flying airplanes that you can't drink coffee late at night when you're the pilot of an airplane, because you can't get up and leave the cockpit of the airplane. So there's a better way to stir your brain, and that's to breathe pure oxygen. So I always I took in pure oxygen, and that'll really fire your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Earth wouldn't function if we go back to pure oxygen, or even high percentage. At one time, the oxygen level in the Earth was in the 40% rather than 21. But it's so combustible that sparks would create huge explosions and fires everywhere. So the Earth didn't function well with higher percentage of oxygen. We had to get down to the current level. This is Glenn Dyson. Unfortunately, he has had a host of anti-Semitic scumbags on his show recently, but this is actually a pretty decent thing. This, if you want to talk about bad, this is I think, a fellow from Finland that is supporting NATO. And he says, yes, the decisions for us to provide weapon systems that kill a bunch of Russian civilians is a really good idea. And it will... it's decreasing the Russian support of the war to make the Russian civilians feel pain from this war. So we're going to do more of that, and it'll bring the Russians to the bargaining table. Well, they tried to bargain with you. You were impossible to bargain with, and you wouldn't honor your deals. You started this goddamn war. And the response of Russia every time that you've tried to escalate inside of Russia is to pulverize Ukraine. And it's only a matter of a time before they pulverize Western Europe for doing this. You have got to be the sickest piece of worm rot on the planet for continuing to fan the flames of war. By the way, he claims that Russian support for the war has plummeted. No, it hasn't moved below 75% ever. You know, Putin's approval ratings in the high 80s, and the support for the war is in the 75 percentile. And the only issue that the average Russian citizen has against Putin is he's not aggressive enough.
It's
and
the
attacking,
same delusion with
it's
Iran.
just like, you know,
we're going to overthrow the.
We're going to bomb them
the-
until they want regime change. No,
regime change.
it galvanized them around the regime. It did exactly the opposite, and you're not smart enough to know this. And yet you're playing with weapons. What in the hell is wrong with people? Stop lying about your warmongering and your peace talk. You are nothing but a bloodthirsty warmonger, and you're an idiot committing suicide. You want to go commit suicide? It's like the Romans. Here's the knife. Here's the rope. Go do it yourself, but don't drag us into it. We don't want to be part of your suicide pact.
And if this guy is from Finland, I mean, he has to know that that's the worst. There is no love lost between Russia and Finland. Okay, I mean,
No,
Finland
there
is
is
a
not.
meme to Russia. They would have no problem wiping them off the. I mean,
Yes.
it's
But think about how long it would take Russia to take Finland.
15 minutes.
Yeah,
was
maybe
11?
15
Yeah,
minutes.
'cause
And Russia has a huge incentive in taking Finland because of the Baltic Sea access. So they have a huge incentive to do it, and wouldn't be any sweat off their brow to accomplish it. So why don't you just keep on giving them the reasons?
yeah.
No, the Americans will protect them.
The boogeyman is just so disgusting. It's so old. It's so trite. It's so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
No, the boogeyman, Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Bishop Richard Williamson. And he says, Muslims are fanatical barbarians. What is that image that's behind him?
Yeah.
They got on a stick.
A dead, tortured
Yeah.
God on a stick.
Yeah.
And he wants to call Muslims barbarians. And he's sitting there in front of a dead God on a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And you want me to tell me that's not barbarian?
Roman torture
What
device.
in the
Yeah.
hell is
Yeah.
wrong with people? You are not going to impress me with your anti-Islamic slogans if you're being promoted by a Roman Catholic. I'll tell you that for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so here we are. So we have Jesus, and we have the sacred wafer. We have that's my body, that's my sacred wafer. I got a perfect circle wafer here for you because that's the Eucharist. I have the old Eucharist cup there for you. I've got everybody praying around me, and by the way, I even have an image here of me as the
In the
tortured God
background.
on a stick.
Yes, in
On
the
a
back, I
stick.
saw that.
The
The
tortured God on a
incense
stick.
going. You
Yep.
see the incense back there?
But here he is.
Two
This is
places
my
at
body.
once.
My body. You're going to be a cannibal, and that's going to be my blood. You're going to drink my blood, and you're going to be a cannibal, and it's just going to be great.
Sponsored by Nabisco.
Sponsored by Nabisco and Gallo. So here is Uche is a girl. Well, you may be a girl, but you are a clown and a moron there, Uche. She says, Christ left us with the Eucharist, not a Bible. Well, 1 for 2 is not so bad. So the Bible is not the final authority. Well, that's now you're 2 for 3. During the time of the apostles, they never never used a Bible. Well, that's almost good there, but I'm going to tell you what you're
But they
missing
wrote
here.
one that's full of shit.
Yeah, I'm going to just give you a little clue as what you're missing. All right. The reason that there's no written account is because it was all fraudulent.
Mhm.
If you were speaking for the God of the Torah and the prophets, you wrote everything down.
Right.
And
Recorded.
they didn't write a thing down. As a matter of fact, it was all hearsay for century, for a full century. It was
Yeah,
all
there's
hearsay.
nothing to
And
write
then the
down.
people that wrote it down were hearsay because they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote it down 2 generations, 3 generations thereafter. So that's the reason there was no Bible, which, by the way, it means Babel, and therefore to confuse, is because nobody wrote anything down, and therefore they were not representing God. That's a problem, because the only credibility is if you represented the God of the Torah and the prophets, and if you represented the God of the Torah and prophets, you wrote everything down. And I spent my
no
first
record.
25 years doing this, writing everything down. Everything was in writing. That's the way God communicates. So you got a little problem there with your get along, because all you're doing now is proving that you're a fraud. There was no mention of a Eucharist anywhere. There is no mention of eating my flesh. There's no mention of drinking my blood. And if there was of eating the flesh and drinking the blood, then you were even further from the God of the Torah and prophets that you need. Otherwise, there is no Messiah. There's no Son of God. There's no prophecies. You got nothing, because your only credibility is the citations you stole and misquoted from the Torah and prophets. And God says, don't drink blood and don't even touch flesh. Human flesh, no. Don't. That's disgusting. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Blood,
So-
pour it out on the ground.
So
yeah, pour it on the
Turns
ground.
out
It's the life of
Gooch is
the
a
soul.
moron.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you have here is absolute proof that you are a complete and blathering idiot. You got no written testimony. You have no credibility. There were no apostles. There was no Eucharist. And even now, the whole thing is religious ghoulishness. Oh yeah, so here's those are the states that get their electricity from Canada: Minnesota, Vermont, Washington, New York, Maine, and Michigan.
I'm safe.
Turn off the lights. And if you go in the West, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, they're having rolling blackouts because they can't keep the lights on. America can no longer produce very simple things like electricity for people. They can't supply water for people. They can't supply electricity for people.
Well, wasn't the big blackout that hit
Manufacturing.
New York City actually a part of a switching plant that was in Canada, right?
Yeah, they
Back
turned
in
it off.
this, yeah. I mean, that's what caused the back in the 70s or early 80s or something.
Oh
there
yeah,
was
that
the
one.
big
Mhm. Yeah.
the big blackout.
Yeah,
that
but of
was-
course, when the last time Trump was going to trade wars with Canada, they said, great, we'll just turn off the power to New York and Washington and Vermont and Minnesota and Maine and Michigan. No problem.
Yeah, they are not on the national grid,
No.
so they can't rely on a Missouri power plant or anything else to go back to the East Coast.
Well, plus the fact the national grid is Swiss cheese. It's
Mhm.
America's infrastructure. It's electrical distribution, electrical
shambles.
manufacturing. We don't produce enough power. We don't produce enough water. We don't have decent distributions of water. We don't have a decent distribution of electricity. Our roads and bridges are crumbling. Our dollar is now worthless. We don't. Our factories are rust belts. And America is dumb. Just oops. And here is how Canada gets its oil west to east. So it's showing the various pipelines that we have, but and some of these have not even been built. Some are anticipated, but the fact is that without Canada, our refineries have nothing to make, because the great idea of stealing the Venezuelan oil has not worked out very well. Most of their facilities are dysfunctional now, and there's just very little oil now that's coming out of Venezuela.
Is that why we're taking their gold instead?
Yeah, and so we're stealing their gold because there's not enough money in their oil.
They
And
got any cattle?
You got cattle? Got any cattle? Yeah. Got any? How about aircraft carriers?
Yeah, we could use some aircraft carrier. They got any of them.
Yeah, if you got any aircraft carriers in Venezuela, we could use some of those.
I think his point here, because it's dark MAGA, is trying to say that in order for Canada to get its oil from east to west or west to east, whichever direction they're going in, it has to go through the United States. Like there's not already a agreement or a treaty, because they don't build a pipeline on the United States soil without an arrangement of, you can't just take our stuff at some point, right?
But by the time that it crosses the United States has bought it. So what's your point?
Well, there you go.
Okay, sir. What do you got next?
Oops, we're on his. There we go.
Oh yeah, this is George Galloway is a raving anti-Semite, and I'm not sure ever has the full capacity of a human brain functioning at any time. But nevertheless, he is full of himself and quite a celebrity in his own mind. He actually is right on this. So I will differ with George on almost everything, including even here on accountability. The fact is, this is a decent piece to listen to. It's occasionally people get things right.
The idea that the Russians are seeking to recreate the Soviet Union, I wish they were. I wish they would, but they aren't and they won't. The Russians are being attacked by us, not the other way around. The Russians have not done anything to us. It's the other way around. And for the first time, a British Prime Minister has admitted that we supplied the drones that killed a significant number of civilians in Russia just last week. These were workers in a warehouse, Russia's equivalent of Amazon, called Wildberries. And now Ozone has also been the subject of an attack. Now, if I give a weapon to somebody, knowing that they're going to fire it and kill people with it, as it says in Scottish law, responsible for that murder. And so Britain has now admitted that it is jointly and severally responsible for a significant number of civilian murders inside Russian territory. Now, I pray that Russia will not act as it is now absolutely legally entitled to act and take retaliatory measures.
I think that Russia should act. That if you don't have accountability, you have no justice. Without reprisals for bad behavior, immorality reigns. And so the only way to have a just, fair, moral system where the innocent are protected is to hold the guilty accountable. So I'm here to tell you that if Russia won't do it, that there will be a time we'll take care of it. The UK needs to pay a very dear price, as does Germany, as does France, as does Finland, as does Poland, as does the United States, for what it has done here. It's criminal. So this Twistian, wants to rename all 12 of the sons to create a prophecy that they're talking about Jesus. And every translation of the name is bogus.
Benjamin, Reuben, these are not good names. These are not pleasant.
No,
right?
no. And they do not have a prophecy of Jesus. There is no Jesus anywhere in the Torah and prophets. Not a mention by any name under any shape of form. And, there is no born to us in Reuben. It's Ra'ah, which means see or witness, and Ben, son. So it is witness the son. So to say is born to us is a pile of shit.
Religious nonsense, yep.
But it goes all the way down. Judah is praise the Lord? No. It means goat in Yahweh. It means blessed of Yahweh. Yeah, beloved of Yahweh. I mean, every bit of what you have here is utter hogwash.
Benjamin, come on, Benjamin, son of righteousness. Everyone knows that the Benjamites.
No,
Oh,
God, it's son
yeah.
of righteousness. Bullshit. No, and he was named Benoni.
Mhm.
You know,
Son of my
son of
affliction.
sorrow, son of agony.
Mhm.
It was a piece of shit named Jacob that renamed him Right Hand. But even in that, I'm writing on the statement about you should not commit. It's always translated adultery, although na'af can never be translated adultery in the sense, the meaning of the English word. So I'm proving that, and I went through many places to say no. What he is speaking of, you should not consistently be unfaithful and disloyal to the covenant, is what it says, and it's defined everywhere throughout the Torah and prophets that way. But then, because of the fact that twisted morons want to demean homosexuality, I decided I would go and tackle that as well. And to tackle it, you have to deal with the fact that the shakan, which is the word for lay down, is prefaced by my, which is an interrogatory, means you need to question this. So question why you would lay down is the word that is used to say in English translations, they just butcher it to say you can't lay with a man like you would a woman, but that's not what the word means. And the context of where Jacob uses the word, that the first use of the word in the Torah, is so reprehensible that, I wanted to puke yesterday. I just wanted to puke. And I just say, God, how in the world could you have continued a relationship with Jacob? I mean, he is, I know you called him a worm, but he's worse than that. The story of how the word that is used to falsely demean homosexuality is derived is that when Rachel, who was also a piece of shit, she was into bleeding on idols and lying, and she was terrible to her sister. When she died, delivering birth to Benoni, and Jacob didn't even have the decency to keep that name. Your wife dies delivering your kid, names that kid, and you went and changed that name? What a scum. That Jacob decided that Bilhah, the sex slave, would be elevated to the position of Rachel rather than him going and treating Leah decently for the first time in his life, because he was just nothing but abusive to her. And so that's his decision. It's a horrible decision. But keep in mind here, Jacob is a horrible son because he cheated his father, lied to his father, deliberately lied and cheated his father. He is a horrible brother, deliberately defrauded his brother. He is a horrible husband, and he is a horrible father. He is the exemplar of how you can butcher every one of those things. He was disgusting at all levels of family existence. And so Reuben was his firstborn. And so he condemns Reuben. So the very asshole that goes off and condemns his brother and steals his brother's right as the firstborn, Esau, and connives a scheme with his mother against his father and against his brother to steal the birthright of his own brother, steals the birthright of his son, Reuben, who was born of Leah and who knew what his father had done was repulsive. And so Reuben says, all right, I'm going to demean you. I know how to rise above all of this. He went in and he Mishkan, the concubine. And so it is, and it's the commentary around it says that you degraded me by rising up above me in this situation. Goddamn right he did. And for good reason. You were scum. And so he says to Reuben, his firstborn, you're not going to survive. You won't even be part of the remnant in the end. You're going to be destroyed. It's not that he gave him an inferior blessing, which is what he forced on his own brother. He says, you're going to be condemned. You're not going to even survive. You will not even be part of the remnant. And so I'm saying, God, why would you allow somebody like this even to be around you? What in the world is going on here? And he says, think of your name. Okay, it's the man from Edom. Oh, so with the man from Edom who restores the remnant, he takes it right to Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
It's the restoration of Esau's birthright, demoting Jacob by the very man who has demonstrated what it is to be a son, what it is to be a father, what it is to be a husband, is taking it to Jacob. Jacob gets diminished in the end. That's the whole plan. He says, no. So we agree. Jacob's a worm. So why do you think of all the names I could have chosen for the man that saved the remnant in the end? And I chose the man from Edom, which is a descendant of Esau.
Mm-hmm.
Then you may say, well, why did God say I loved Jacob and I hated Esau? Because it's in the last of the prophets. 1,500 years from the event. He's not speaking of either man.
Mm-hmm.
He's speaking of what came out of Jacob, that he tried his best to love Israel, and Israel treated him like shit. And he tried his best to foreclose on the Islamic assault that came from Esau and Ishmael. It has nothing to do with those two individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And God has many, many times when he says, I really hate Israel, but he's going to resolve that because Israel's going to resolve it. And that's why he says, I'm telling you here, it's not appropriate for you to hate Esau. He tells Israel that. This is a really bad thing for you to do. Because in the end, it's Esau gets to replace Jacob at the birthright because Jacob was such a worm. But when you think about Reuben and the 12 sons, that story comes to mind. And that was quite a learning experience yesterday as I was trying. I don't want to be anywhere near that man. I really dislike him.
Mm-hmm.
He, my sense of values, he offends in every which way. So I don't want to be, he's not a man from my point of view, not somebody I ever want to know or be around. And so I say, God, what do you want from me in terms of, I don't want to restore this. And I said, check your name again. Who are you prophesied to be? Don't I restore the remnant? The very thing he says will not happen. The Reuben won't even be part of it. The very condemnation he makes, isn't that resolved by the man who comes from Edom?
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna right the wrong.
That's profound.
Wow, isn't that profound?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The story all fits together.
Remarkable.
Luther. So here's a Catholic gentleman who would say that Luther believed in Mary's perpetual virginity and transubstantiation and all of this rot that is part of the ghoulish aspect of Roman Catholicism. And so they're trying to say, oh, well, the Protestants he wouldn't recognize the Protestants now because they don't believe that the wafer becomes the flesh of their man god, or that the cup of wine becomes the blood of their man god, or that Mary was a perpetual virgin, or any of this rot. Yeah. So Martin Luther was an anti-Semitic rogue, and he opposed a ghoulish regime. So you had a ghoul promoting the ghoulish nature of a ghoulish regime. One anti-Semitic scum denouncing another anti-Semitic scum. What one or the other believed is just rot.
Yeah.
I say, let's start at there's no Jesus. So the
Right.
two of them arguing over what color banner you put on the cross doesn't matter, right? Because there's no fucking Jesus. So
There's no Jesus. Yeah. And
talk about your fruit of the
we get
poison
to
tree.
say, I killed him.
Yeah.
I killed him. And I'd do it again, except it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah, those books have been written. We're good.
We're good. I've got 5 volumes, Killing Jesus. So they want to blame black slavery on Christianity, and they have these black slaves leaving someplace that looks like it's in Mesopotamia here.
Mm-hmm.
Black slaves didn't come from Mesopotamia. Very little Christian influence in Mesopotamia. Listen, the black slaves that were exported to the Americas came from northwestern Africa. At the time of the slave trade, there were no Christians in northwestern Africa because, while there had been, the Muslims killed them all. And so you only had one religion in northwestern Africa. It was Islam.
And they ran the slave trade.
They ran the slave trade. So why are you blaming it on Christianity? Because you're just ignorant of Islam?
Mm-hmm.
It's just totally and completely false, Ugo Cannon. You got your head up your ass, pal.
Yep.
No, so it was Islam, not Christianity. Christians enslaved Jews, and Muslims murdered Jews. But in northwestern Africa, there were no Muslims and no Christians. I mean, there were Muslims, but no Christians. But by the way, when it comes to being an African in America, the only reason you're in America is because of the slave trade. Because if they had not been Africans enslaving Africans and selling them to Muslims, your great grandparents would have been dead.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't exist. I mean, that was the option. So the option is, do you want to be dead or enslaved? I'm telling you, I'm not happy with either option, but those are the options. I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you, those are the rules. So if you were a black person in America, the option, you're only there because of the slave trade, where you would not have been there had there been no slave trade, because the Africans would simply, in their tribal wars, would have killed your great ancestors. So you look out your kitchen window and you see this. What should you do? Stop drinking.
Stay off the sauce.
Stay off the sauce. That's what you ought to do.
I've got to disagree with both of you. I can tell both of you have never had a drug of choice, because the correct answer is to put the pipe down and hope it doesn't have PCP in it if you're seeing this out your window. I don't know how many, I mean, you're talking to an alcoholic. I have never seen anything like this out a kitchen window from drinking, okay? Drinking does not cause hallucinations.
Okay. All right, that's fair enough. We've never had a drug of choice. I've
yes.
never had an hallucination.
Stop the mushroom.
I mean, just to be really, really clear here, so that, because conspirators will have you believe all manner of things. There are no UFOs, not in the sense of aliens. There are no aliens that have ever visited the Earth. There's no aliens that will ever visit the Earth, and we will never find an alien source until such time as humans receive the benefits of the covenant and our souls are encapsulated in light energy. The distances do not favor it. It's impossible. And beyond the distances being impossible, the likelihood of intelligent life on any other planet is essentially zero. Not even with 2 trillion galaxies and hundreds of billions of solar systems per galaxy, it's essentially zero. The Earth is just far too well tuned for this, and we're never going to. I mean, the likelihood of finding anything that's remotely like it is slim and none. And even if you found a place that was like it, while life, I would say, sure, no problem with life being on another planet, but intelligent life is an entirely different thing. And the likelihood of it developing another planet is essentially nil. But beyond it being essentially nil, and we're talking about 1 to the 10th to the 100th power, nil. Even if there were, they can't get here and we can't get there. It has nothing to do with technology. It has just to do with the basic laws of physics. It's impossible. The fastest we've ever moved an object would take 75,000 years to get to our nearest solar system, the Proxima Centauri. And the sun on Proxima Centauri is a blowtorch. It is entirely caustic. And the one planet there is tidally locked, and it is a zero possibility that life could exist on it, even brought to it for 30 seconds. Yeah. So, and it would take 75,000 years to get there. And if you could actually get there, you'd have no way to slide out, even slow down once you went past it, and you'd have no way to land on it, and you'd have no way to survive on it. There'd be no reason to go there. Kind of like going to Mars. Why would you want to go there? Everything about it is deadly. And it's actually got a gentile star. But no.
I often wondered, though, Yada, Yahweh has just been around for so long. You just wonder, and I don't believe in UFOs or aliens, but you just wonder, is this his first rodeo? Has he tried something similar in the past that he hasn't disclosed because it's not? Yeah, I know.
I've been brought that question. I've never considered it seriously, because once you come up with an understanding of the way that Yahweh allowed free will to play out, and yet managed the system by redeploying those 5 souls, you realize there was no chance he was going to fail. Once you understand that that's how he came up with the system. Yeah. So the only possibility you'd have to say is that God was unaware that he could redeploy souls to achieve his desired result. Because once he came up with the means to, these are the souls I'm going to equip and deploy, it was a lay down hand. He's holding 4 royal flushes. Yeah. To just put down the cards. There's 5 cards. You put them down 1 or 2 at a time, and you just each time you need a royal flush, you got another one. So no, he's got a royal flush because of the way that he came up with. I got my ace, I got my king, I got my queen. I've got my joker. He's a funny guy, and I got the 10 people that I need to support him and them. And so once God came up with that plan, it was. He had absolute assurance that he was going to succeed. Yeah. And, you'd have to also keep in mind, what is success from Yahweh's point of view? He doesn't like people. So he loves his firstborn son.
Well, we're going to spread them all over the universe, right? I mean, they're bad enough on one planet. Why are we going to?
God realized a lot of people are bad people. So if I have a few people that really prove that they're worth trusting, then we'll have a grand old time. It's a big old universe. We can do marvelous things together. We'll have real fun together, spend quality time together. And really, I would have been happy just having my son, but I couldn't have my son unless I had these others making the contribution. And they made it more fun anyway for me, more interesting for God. And so so long as we got a core group of people and the 5 that get redeployed, there was no chance that God was not going to succeed in his plan. So I don't think you have to have this being the result of several oops and then I came up with a better plan. I think he came up with this. I actually think that Rich may be right, and the fact that the 5 souls that he chose to redeploy, at least 3 of them, because there's 3 of them in his name, that at least 3 of those 5 souls existed before our planet existed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that to me that there is. It'd be hard to argue against that.
Mhm.
I don't want to try to prove it at this point, but it'd be very hard to argue against that point, that there were souls that existed prior to the creation of this planet. And so I think God knew exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah, we get all those details years from now. Right now,
Yeah, we don't need to know that.
we don't need to know.
What we do need to know is he had there's 5 souls that he redeployed frequently. They were his fixers. They were his completers. They got the job done. I would liked working that way. He got the result he wanted when he wanted it on the timeline that he wanted. 6,000 years sounds like a long time to be at this from our point of view, but not from his.
No, not the way he experiences time.
No.
All right.
This was an
is
interesting take on it, because this
Yes.
guy says that it wasn't the United States looking to break up Russia so they could steal the resources. This guy thinks that it was so that Europe could get the breadbasket and the fertile soil of Ukraine.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Well, he's-
He's wrong, but it was an interesting take. I like the fact that he realizes that the West absolutely played him. Asher's having it's so bad that we have to deal with Asher. That he realizes that America has no interest in Ukrainians, their blood to spill for its goal, and that when Ukrainians pretend that America is their savior or supplying them what they need and that they're they were played in this. What he doesn't realize is they were played because Russia has assets. What Ukraine has is good soil, but there's good soil around the world. What Russia has is gas and oil and gold and titanium and all these kinds of things that people need, and the rare earth. So it was to control Russia was the whole purpose of this war. And it goes back 20 years ago. This war was actually started 20 years ago. But I'd probably play a little bit of it. You just hear him, because some of what he says is true.
I don't think Ukraine exists anymore. They just haven't told the Ukrainians yet. Mark my words. And you might want to screenshot this, because what I'm about to say isn't a theory in my mind. This is happening right now in real time. And one day everyone's going to look back and go, how did we not see that? I really don't want to do this video, but I have to. I also know this is going to be tough for a lot of you. So stay with me all the way to the end, and maybe you'll see it too. As you may know, my wife is Ukrainian. Her family goes back generations in Ukraine. Real people, real roots, real history, and that fertile soil. And when we brought them here to safety, they thought they were escaping the war. What they didn't know is that the war came specifically to make them leave. They weren't casualties of the conflict. They were obstacles to it. Think about it for a second. If you wanted to take over a country, the land, the resources, the entire future of a place, but you couldn't just walk in and take it, what would you do? You'd fund tension. You'd arm people. You'd push until something ignites. And when it does, when the bombs are falling and the cameras are rolling, you don't send your guys in. You send their guys in. You make it their war. You make it about their honor. You stand at a podium 10 countries away and say, Slava Ukraini, to get the world behind you. And the love the Ukrainians have for their homeland, that becomes a weapon. Here's the deal in all this. They never wanted to win this war in the first place, because if they wanted to, they would have ended it. Peace was on the table early on. It got walked away from, because the arming of those troops is a money machine, as you know. The destruction is a money machine, and the rebuilding contracts are already written. Money on the way down, money on the way back up. Real human beings treated as completely expendable. And for this to work, Ukraine couldn't just be weakened. It had to be emptied. The people had to go. Okay. The culture had to go.
Probably not.
Because
probably
you
not.
can't move.
Probably not. There is no plan to rebuild Ukraine. When America goes in, destroy a place, it never rebuilds it. It walks away.
Never.
So understand that there's no contract to rebuild Ukraine. Ukraine did empty out half of Ukrainians left. But that was not what America wanted. What America wanted is Ukrainians to be cannon fodder. They wanted Ukrainians to go kill Ruskies, because they wanted the big prize was Russia. And so he's wrong about a number of things, but he is right in that the West could care less about Ukrainians. Have had this whole propaganda of Ukrainians fighting for freedom, and Russia is the dictatorial bad guy. And the truth is the opposite of that. So just an interesting take on this whole thing, but he's wrong about many of his conclusions. But it's interesting when you see the Russian ethnic areas east there. But Russia's not going to be satisfied now, and now they have a buffer all along the north, and they're not going to be satisfied until they take Odessa at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the war will continue, and Ukraine is just going to lose more people. So you got General Kellogg, who has been the bloodthirsty appointee overseeing this war and failing miserably in this war. He continues to be in a position of influence, which is really sad because everything he has said has led to disaster. But General Kellogg now is the one who's come up with the propaganda of the women in the Ukraine. This is their women power, great opportunity because they don't have any more men to send to the front to die.
It destroys. It's one thing for half a population's male to die, okay, but the genetic code of what is Ukrainian lives on through now we're going to feed that only remaining piece into the war machine. Now that, I mean, you could literally lose what it is to ethnically be Ukrainian from the face of the earth. Not that we're losing much, I'm just saying that
we're losing much. I mean, it's this beautiful thing that he wants to pick to how wonderful Ukrainians are. No, the Ukrainians were the most graft-ridden culture in Europe. There's no one in Europe that was more graft-ridden than the Ukraine. It's been true for a very long time. They were the most morally challenged people in Europe, and that's saying something because Europe's a very immoral place. But they were harassing and torturing Jews long before the Nazis arose in Germany, and they were vicious at it during the Nazi occupation. They loved what the Nazis were doing to Jews, and Ukraine is the scum of the earth from those two perspectives: graft and gross immorality, particularly towards Jews. So you couldn't have found an easier people to bribe who were willing to be merciless, and that's why Ukrainians were used. They were easy to bribe, and they're merciless. So this is not about the noble, great honor of Ukraine. There is none. This is not the value of the Ukrainian land. There's a lot richer soil and a lot better weather patterns in other places in the world. This was all about using Ukrainians to kill Russians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here's the that thing where they're saying that it is evident that the apostles, if they had not seen Christ risen and did not have proof of his power, they never would have risked so much. And that was St. John of Chrysostom. This is John the Golden Mouth. This is the John that was we hate Jews. We're going to kill Jews. We want to torture Jews. He was one of the great anti-Semites of all time, and what he was saying was absolutely and unequivocally untrue. There was no documentation on how first of all, there's no documentation on Jesus even existing.
Right.
There's no documentation on Jesus having any apostles. There's no documentation on how imaginary apostles of imaginary persons died. And this idea that they were flailed alive or crucified right side up, upside down, is all fable. So what they did is, since they have no credible reason to believe any of this, they created the credibility here by lying about Jesus, lying about the apostles, lying about their deaths, and then saying, see, their deaths prove that there was a Jesus.
Just proves they're dumb.
It just proves they're dumb. Oh. So
because that guy fell for the scam, I need to fall for it too. Is that their argument?
Yeah, and oh, by the way, proof that you were part of the scam is you were flailed alive.
Yeah,
your God is so terrific that he died on a torture stick and your God was so feeble that men killed your God. And now you prove that you've got this great religion and this great guy because you're flailed alive.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Swell.
Christians,
Don't-
especially Catholics, are so proud of this legacy. Like I said, they have encyclopedias of saints going through all kinds of stuff. To them, this is it. This is proof. This is what happens when you're religious. This will serve as proof to you. It isn't proof. It's anecdotes. Most of this stuff, Yad, is not even verified. These are stories.
That's correct. Well,
that were told by
essentially,
Eusebius
none
and-
of it is verified. It's all a lie, and
It's
so they're
story.
using lies to prove a lie.
Think about what
What is
that lie
verified?
is.
And you'd be
How-
correct.
this is what they're
Even if it
using.
were true, it would be anecdotal, which would have no
Yeah.
value.
That's right. But even look at
Because
what the
you could-
subject is. How do you sell this? How did this sell? Man is sick.
Yes. How do you sell this? How do you say, boy, I really need to believe in that because maybe I could be flailed alive too?
When the
Or,
alternative,
Where are you going
when the
with this?
alternative, Dode says in 91st Psalm that if you're with Yahweh, He's with you. You don't stub your toe. You don't fall.
Right.
You don't worry about arrows. Right?
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
alternative. But hey,
Right.
flayed
Yeah,
alive.
God
you
says,
know,
yeah, if you're with me,
People
I'm
up your
protecting you.
cross.
Staying alive.
If you're with me, I'm protecting you. But this other dum-dum, you're with him, you get flailed alive. Really swell. I want to join that one. Or, if anecdotal evidence of martyrdom proved anything, then we should all be Muslims.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
goodness.
mind-bogglingly stupid. Talk about stupid. This upon this rock, and you are Peter, and the Christ, the Son of the living God. I will build my church. This is the dumbest conversation ever recorded that didn't take place.
Agreed.
Dumbest conversation ever recorded that didn't take place.
That's right.
It was written by Eusebius in the 4th century. It was backfilled into Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, which are the most absurdly corrupt witnesses, so that they can't even be considered among the early 69 codices of the Christian New Testament, because this doesn't exist in any of them. Prior to Constantine and Eusebius, the conversation didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Eusebius wrote it in the 4th century, and the first place it appears is in Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, which are mid-4th century codices. And they are so copied over and so changed with so many erasures that they have zero credibility. But that's the first place it appears. So the single most important conversation in your religion didn't appear until the 4th century, 3 centuries after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to believe that that conversation took place. And then, of course, the location, it's presented near a city that never existed,
Mm-hmm.
and in front of the gates of hell.
And
So the whole conversation is presented in front of the gates of hell and identified with a city that never took place. And then you have, in the last week of this mythical man God's ministry, where he claims to be, you're claiming him to be, he never made such claims. You're claiming him to be the Christ and the Son of God. He actually asked his non-existent disciples, so who do you think I am?
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 years, they didn't bother to ask. They're following him for 3 years, and he never bothered to tell them. What in the hell are you doing following this guy all around Judea, and you haven't even bothered to ask, oh, by the way, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
why are we here?
I thought we were on a
Why
fishing
are we
trip.
here? What are we doing here? What is this? What's going on here? Never once around the campfire to said, hey,
Mhm.
who are you really?
Right.
That's what you have to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he tells them, they're sworn to secrecy.
Oh, then you allegedly have a man that is referred to as Peter prematurely, because you didn't keep in mind, oh, wait a minute, there wasn't a Peter at that point. He was Shimon. And he says, "You are the Christ." Say what? What? That's like saying, you're the bugaboo.
Donkle-dooter. Donkle-dooter.
You're the Yonkle-doodle. Yeah, you're the Yonkle-doodle. There was no prophecy of a Christ. There wasn't even a prophecy of a returning Messiah. So to say you are the Christ is to say you're the Yonkle-doodle. I mean, I know it all the time. You are the Yonkle-doodle. So what kind of a stupid statement is that? And by the way, he doesn't quote a passage that says, "Oh yeah, you're this one that was predicted here. Let me cite the place where there was a Christ predicted, or even a Messiah predicted. Let me show you where there was a predicted Messiah."
No.
And the reason they don't quote it because it doesn't exist. And you say, "Well, you're the Yonkle-doodle." I knew it all the time. And what's the first thing that the Yonkle-doodle says? Don't you dare call me the Yonkle-doodle. Don't you ever mention that, because bad things will happen if you call me the Yonkle-doodle. So now you have the religion about having a Mr. Yonkle-doodle and about Yonkle-doodles everywhere. And the very word Yonkle-doodle means I'm drugged out of my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the dumbest conversation in the history of dumb conversations that never took place in front of the gates of hell, that shows that it's impossible that the Christian narrative is legitimate. And then to make it worse, and the next breath after the Yonkle-doodle, you have the Mr. Yonkle-doodle turning to the guy who came up with the Yonkle-doodle quote that he said, "Don't mention anybody," telling him he's Satan. I mean, that's the next line. He is Satan. And then somewhere, the Yonkle-doodle is going to have Mr. Yonkle-doodle, who's been with him for 3 years, who doesn't have a clue who he is. He's so stupid that he doesn't have a clue who he is, that Mr. Yonkle-doodle never bothered to tell him. And he is now going to run heaven. Says that's what he's going to do. He's going to run heaven. Whatever he wants to do in heaven, that's what's going to happen in heaven. He's going to run heaven. He's going to run earth. But guess what? Mr. Yonkle-doodle never did, or Junior Yonkle-doodle, never did run heaven or earth. What in the hell? Talk about stupid. Good God. You've got to have the dumbest people ever that believe this piece of shit religion. And without this line, you got no Mr. Yonkle-doodle.
Abbott and Costello was a better
doesn't
shtick.
exist. And there is no church, by the way. And by the way, he didn't say church. Even in the Greek, there's no word that's even remotely akin to church. And what in the hell is the rock? Oh,
it's cockamamie.
And then they want to say you're the son of the living God. And then they want to, at this same Eusebius and Constantine at their Nicene Council, changes a person who never claimed to be God, turn him into God, never even claimed to be the son of God, never claimed to be the Yonkle-doodle. And they turn him into a God, as if God could become a man. And by the way, right after this, Mr. Yonkle-doodle was crucified. Great. For nothing. For what? Being the Yonkle-doodle?
Apparently.
You think Rome had a ban on Yonkle-doodleism?
Zero Yonkle-doodle policy.
No Yonkle-doodles, man. You can't be the Yonkle-doodle. Oh, man, I heard that prophecy of the Yonkle-doodle. That's bad for Rome.
Right.
What was that prophecy again about the Yonkle-doodle? I don't know where that was. Can you tell me where it says there's going to be a Christ here?
You're right.
Yeah, where is there going to be a Christ here? Please tell me the prophecy. I'd like to read it, and then I'll tell you about the Yonkle-doodles. You are the Yonkle-doodle, son of the living God. I'm going to build my my thingamajiggy on this because I really don't have a word for church. So it's just, we'll build my thingamajiggy. That'll be just fine. And that thingamajiggy, of course, is going to persecute my people. And it's going to steal my people from me. It's going to rob my son and the actual Savior. Going to rob him of everything you've done. And you can rob me of my people, my son, and everything else. And I'm going to build I'm going to switch to a church, even though I never mentioned a church. I'm going to have original name Christianity, even though I'm anti-religious. And look at the piece of shit they have depicting Jesus, and I don't know who and by the way, with the gates of hell, it was a cave in the background that this took place. Maybe you want to read your own scripture. How come I know your scripture better than you know your scripture, and the origin of it, and who wrote it, and when they wrote it, and how stupid it is?
Yeah, Christians don't know the origin of anything about their religion.
No,
nothing.
They've been lied to, and they continue to promote the lie.
But they don't bother to take the time to on its surface, you should have the desire to say, this doesn't make sense. Something's not right. Let me look into this. My soul is valuable to me. Let me look at this. They just don't. They just let me.
It's why when I started this long ago, I was probably the closest friend that Jerry Falwell had on the planet, and he was the most famous Christian on the planet at the time. And we spent thousands of hours together. And I came to him and I said, I got these 20 issues here that I want you to bring the head of, you've got a Liberty University here, bring the head of your Hebrew department, bring the head of your Old Testament department, bring the head of your scholarship on all of this. And I want 4 or 5 hours of your time. We're going to go through these things. I want answers because I don't think there are any answers. And I went through them one after another. And at the end of it, his PhD said, we got no answer for any of this. Everything he said is true. And Falwell said, yep, everything you've said is true. Can't disagree with any of it. The whole thing of Jesus is a lie. Christianity is a lie. Christmas and Easter are lies. The Trinity is a lie. This ghoulish cross thing is a lie. It's all a lie. Son of God, it's a lie. God being a man, it's a lie. Sunday worship, it's a lie. It's all a lie. But, if we were to admit that, then no one would come and sit in the pews of our church and we couldn't take a collection. And if I were to admit that, the envelopes that show up every day to support my university would stop coming. And if you say it, they'll label you a kook. They know it's a lie.
Yep.
All of them. They're all, particularly the ones that are have the big churches and the big shows and the faith healers and dinner and a show. They all know that it's an absolute fraud, and they do it anyway.
Yep. That's why they're going to be punished.
Yeah, look at Jerry's son, Jerry Jr., who he turned his university and his church over to. And he's hiding in the closet while he hires the pool boy to screw his wife. And then he gives the pool boy that's screwing his wife millions of dollars of donors' money that he squanders. And then the pool boy tries to blackmail him. He thought he can stand up against the pool boy that he has enriched in this way and given his wife to in this way. And he says, okay, well, I'll just expose who you are. And that's who he was.
Yep.
Jerry, by the way, was a decent human being. I mean, it's hard to say that about a man that was promoting a lie and who's changed American politics in the way that he did. But he knew he was lying.
They're businessmen.
Yeah. So the Ishmael Accords. When they first signed these things, I said that between these three, it's a nothing burger. Pakistan can't run a country. I mean, they're a bunch of buffoons in Pakistan. They have nuclear bombs because Saudi Arabia funded the nuclear program, but there's no indication they could deliver any of them, or that any of them would detonate.
They never had a nuclear test.
Well, they had a nuclear test, but the tritium triggers have a very short life, and very likely that the vast majority of the United States and Russia's nuclear arsenals are duds now.
Yeah, they
And
got to
Pakistan would be
yeah.
Pakistan would be even worse. Saudi Arabia has the 5th or 6th largest defense budget in the world, and can't find anyone in their country to operate any one of those weapons. They can't defend themselves at all. They're completely inept at defending themselves. And Erdogan has just declared war on Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the great genocidal maniacs in the world. That's who you got here. And we like to say that Erdogan is Turkey is NATO, but they're NATO in name only. They don't support anything that NATO does, and NATO doesn't support anything they do. They were only NATO because prior to
some airports.
Kennedy in the Eisenhower era, they wanted to put atomic ballistic missiles closer to Russia, and they made a deal with Turkey to do that. And that's the result of this deal. But otherwise, they're no more NATO than the man on the moon.
That's right.
And he is a genuine scum. And he is the reason why ISIS took over Syria.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they've even now shown that the blame for the chemical sarin warfare, I actually had, as one of the posts here, a presentation on that sarin powder and gas that was released that was blamed on Assad, that caused the world to turn against Assad. The whole world, the Russians, the United States, the Europeans, all tested it. It wasn't from Assad. No, it was in the hands of al-Nusra Front, which was what America was using to go attack Assad's regime. And it was Saudi Arabians had their hands on it, but mostly it was Turkish origins. And they knew it, and they lied. And so we have Jalani, who is the Islamic State, is now the head of Turkey, and we've removed all terrorist designations from Syria now that their president is the Islamic State, who was responsible for the gang rapes and murders of the city en masse. This is how far we have fallen. But because America has, with Trump, has shown itself to be completely inept and had its bases destroyed in the Middle East, and has cratered the petrodollar and shown itself to be an unreliable partner, these countries have formed what they call the Mecca Accords. We'll call them the Ishmael Accords.
Mm.
And they have absolutely unequivocally offered them to Iran. And Saudi Arabia is desperate. MBS knows that he's not going to become king, and he won't survive if he can't figure out a way out of this. So the first thing he tried to do is partner with the Pakistanis because he can't he has no way to use any of his weapons. So he thought, well, I'll sign a deal with the Pakistanis. They have some military capability. They really don't, but sounded good. And then he expanded that. So let me bring Turkey in, but Erdogan is one of the most unreliable people on the earth, and he has a messiah complex. That's not going to work well against a guy that has an ego the size of MBS. But nevertheless, they formed that. And then the day after they signed it, the Houthis proved that it was invalid.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, we'll just say this was a joke. But not when they invited Iran. And Iran is genuinely considering it. Because if Iran is brought into it, it will mean that Pakistan, who Iran could really use as an ally, because they control all the coastline along the Arabian Sea after leaving the Persian Gulf, and with Iran as a stout ally of Iran, America's blockade is worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And if Saudi Arabia joins, Saudi Arabia still has some money, even though I think we reported yesterday, if not, we had a conversation here about the NEOM project is gone. $50 billion toast. MBS is on a shoestring. That was his project. It's completely dismantled. It's not just no longer being built. They've gone back and they've scraped and tried to cover it all up. Completely gone. And he has this $50 to $150 billion defense budget and couldn't do anything to protect his country. So he's in serious trouble, and he can't export his oil. He's really in trouble. But Iran needs access to markets, and if they could do an Ishmael Accord with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia becomes essentially a vassal of Iran, that changes things considerably. Turkey's economy is in free fall. I've followed this because I like boats. I mean, boats are just man of the sea. I like them, and Turkey was one of the places where they were making many of the world's nicer yachts. It's all shut down. They're because their currency is worthless, and they can't honor any agreement. So it's all shut down, gone. And so we have somebody that has lots of money, 3 countries that need money, a country that knows how to build weapons and wield weapons, and 2 countries that know nothing about those kinds of things. And the third country, we'll see. We have no idea whether the Turks can fight or not. But now Erdogan is threatening war with Israel, calling Hamas the great liberator. So literally threatening war with Israel, and they own Syria. And Saudi Arabia that's desperate, but still has some money. Pakistan that's desperate economically, but has nuclear bombs. And Iran that has a great, very successful drone and missile program and people that know how to fight. You put that together.
Boy, that's a ugly
Israel's screwed.
Yeah.
Israel's screwed.
For sure.
And what I wanted to say is that we're 3 months into the time of trouble. And the overall time of trouble for Israel is 88 months long. Interesting number. 88 months long. It's kind of interesting because Elia will come back after 20 Yobel, 888 years after he was dispatched. But 88, the number of infinity. That's how long that, because it's going to seem like an eternity. But the time of trouble is 88 months long. We're 3 months into it. And already Israel is completely isolated from the rest of the world. Most hated country on earth. Already Israel has started a war with Iran that has no end. Already Israel is now being threatened by Turkey, which is the military most alarming to it. Already Israel is in a house divided election cycle that no one can win. And all the while you've got Israelis pounding their chest, telling you how wonderful they are and how tremendous God's going to be to them. And God says, no, not only in Hosea, but also in Yirmiyah, I've divorced you. I'm done with you. Your religiosity is just too dishonorable. I'm not going to be around you. And yet Israel is such that to be a Jew now is equated to Judaism. And God says, that's the reason I divorced you. And so there's no God protecting Israel. They won't listen. They're belligerent. They think Netanyahu is their savior when he is destroying them. They're a vassal of Satan. And in a country that is their only last quasi-ally, even though they're a vassal of that country, you have the vice president saying, you're shit. We don't want to be around you anymore. You need to kiss our ass. And the president of that country that betrayed them in the memorandum of understanding on Iran and is ultimately going to checkmate them. So we've just 3 months in. and Israel's cooked. It's a lay down hand by their adversaries. And this particular situation, if Saudi Arabia can pay enough money, and if Erdogan can stand the ego, and they bring in Iran with the kind of deal they'd have to cut for Iran to be part of it, because Iran is the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Does it ever change the world as it was known? And it assures that the United States has no influence again anywhere in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be the final nail right there.
And that destroys the petrodollar, and with it, the complete destruction of the U.S. economy. This is eye-opening stuff. And as I say, we're only 3 months into the time of trouble. 88 months to go. Faith is so stupid. When somebody writes, scientists are seriously revisiting the idea that God is the universe itself. No. Not only are not the majority of scientists not on board with that, there isn't even a meaningful minority of scientists that are saying it. You're just lying.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, it would render God meaningless.
Exactly.
God uses a term called Kodesh to address himself and everything important to him. It means the opposite of what you're claiming. It means God is set apart from and separate from the material world. And he says it over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing more common than God being the material world.
Right.
And God's statement is that it's just the opposite, that he is set apart from it, separated from it. And the moment that God becomes so common that he is the material world, he becomes meaningless. And you're a piece of shit man God. Can you imagine that man God is the universe? I mean, come on. You've rendered the entirety of God into the body of a man that men killed. And you've given him a crown of thorns, and you leave him nailed to a torture stake. And you want to claim that is the essence of the universe? That man couldn't save his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't write anything down. He was incapable of writing a written legacy so you'd know exactly what he was about, because he actually didn't exist. And you want to make that piece of shit the equivalent of nebula and galaxies? This is really stupid.
This is an odd strain of religion. You know, most religious, they need a god, they need all kinds of rules. But then you get into New Age and spiritualism, and these guys have assigned God anonymity. He's a giant nothing burger in the sky. He's everything. He lift up a rock and I am there, it says in the Gnostic Gospels. Look over here, I'm there too. But this is definitely a strain of religion that doesn't fall into that normal category of Christianity, Islam, Judaism. These are New Agers.
Well, this one, while there is a New Age spiritualism that has existed from some time, as you described it, it can't be equated to this post, because this post is the post of the God wearing the crown of thorns. So this is man God here. This is Christian, mainstream Christian rot.
That's a fair point.
But they want their God to be omniscient and omnipresent and all that sort of thing. And the moment he is, he ceases to be meaningful. If God knew everything, he would be no purpose for us.
You missed the best part.
Yeah.
You missed and you are divine. So everybody's.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right.
Yes. Because God is in every pebble, and Adam, you are divine. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. See, this is where you need to learn a little bit of logic. Like if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. These people make nexuses. All of a sudden, it's like conspiracy theorists. You're following them along. They seem to be onto something, and then they just take a wild turn. And it's like, where did you get that? How did you get from here to here? You know, but they bring you in with an interesting, compelling kind of story that's somewhat interesting, and then they always go off the rails once they get you pulled in.
Yeah, well, I've never seen anything that's really particularly interesting in a conspiracy theory, other than reptilian overlords. Now with Trump being president of the United States and him being Satan, I'm beginning to say, well, okay, well that's got some credibility. But chemtrails, you can't get there. No. There is nothing interesting that you can say that's going to get you from contrails to chemtrails. Nothing. Mm-hmm. There's nothing interesting you can say that's going to get you from vaccines being the single greatest proponent of life to it being a conspiracy con. I mean, all you got to do on that is go look at cemeteries before the advent of vaccines and see how many tombstones there are of children under the age of 5 that died versus today. So no, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to take, so those are two of the biggies. Flat Earth, I mean, where are they going to go with that?
Yeah.
No, they're 9/11, that Building 7 wasn't hit by an airplane and it fell. So it must have been because the CIA it was the inside job. And so the CIA did it as an inside job. And the first building they took down was their own secret headquarters. And they mysteriously took it down because there was no airplane that flew into it. And at first, though, they wanted to deny that any airplanes flew into the other buildings. And there you are showing the actual videos of the airplane flying into the buildings. And then they want to say that Building 7 was an inside job because it was hit by the airplane, when in fact, the fire and the debris from the towering buildings right above it fell upon it, and even the spire from the World Trade Center went in and crashed right into it, and the fire suppression systems didn't work, and they built the damn thing over the void of a subway station, such that the internal structure had no chance of holding up, and no water inside, and so there was no fire suppression, and they had these infernos raging above it, and that huge tower falls from 120 stories above it. And you're going to say, oh, well, miracle, man, must be thermite. They wrap the beams with thermite. No, I don't know where we would find anything that would be credible in a conspiracy theory. They start off dumb and they get dumber.
You mean like 10,000 JFK documents that point to the Jews?
Oh, yeah, like this one here, yeah. A CIA whistleblower, a friend close to the president told me, a friend close to the president told me that there are 10,000 JFK assassination documents that will never be released because every single one of them points directly to Israel. I mean, how much of a piece of shit, an anti-Semite, my life is meaningless. I've got nothing going, so I'm just going to hate Jews. Do you have to be before you're willing to believe that and then promote it? Do a video where you're going to put yourself out there and say, "Duh, I'm really stupid." Oh, good grief.
Unreal.
There's only one, and always only been one, rational explanation as to why JFK is dead. And it has nothing to do with Oswald. And it has nothing to do with Ruby. And it has nothing to do with Israel. The people that run the United States, and have run it for a very long time, are not elected. They hang out in places like the CIA and the NSA, retired generals, and they are owners of large military industrial conglomerates. And they make it really clear it doesn't matter, and Putin's been very clear on this, it doesn't matter who's president. You get a visit from one of these folks and says, just want to let you know that congratulations on your victory. We arranged it. And now that you're here, these are your parameters. I don't care what you said you were going to do. This is what you will do. And you're not going to do anything outside of those lines. Otherwise, you're going to be the next JFK. It was an inside job by America. They didn't like the fact that he stood up for racial minorities. They didn't like the fact that he was opposed to removing the United States from the gold standard and going to a fiat currency that they could manipulate. They didn't like that he didn't want to go to war with Cuba and Russia and wanted to settle that peaceably because there's no money in that. That he wasn't down with the Bay of Pigs. They didn't like that at all either. They didn't like the fact that he and his brother were going after the organized crime because they make money there. These were the issues. So, you want to piece it together? America assassinated its own president, and LBJ was a big part of it. He was scum, and they didn't like the fact either that Kennedy was going to say, this whole Vietnam thing, this was a really bad idea. We're going to pull the advisors out. We're not going to sucker ourselves into a long war. And LBJ was, oh, sure, no problem. We'll go for that war. Lots of money to be made.
Yeah.
Who cares that 60,000 Americans will die? That's your answer, stupid. And by the way, President Trump doesn't know shit. He could no more read 10,000 pages. So a friend of the president told me there's 10,000 pages and they all point to Israel. The president of the United States hasn't read one full page. That's why he's got a full-time tweeter and bottom cleaner. He hasn't read one full page of briefings, much less 10,000. And
Right.
he'd be the last person to have a comprehension of anything. So if you're going to say my friend at the CIA acknowledged that there were more documents and this is what they said, you'd have 1/1 billionth of 1% credibility. But when you say it's a friend of the president, come on, what a waste. He's the very president that actually did something regarding those files. He released them. And when he released them, one of the things that proved that there is no association with Israel, not in any of them. And I tell you what, he wouldn't care if they did impugn Israel. He would have no reason to pull Israel out of that mix.
Mm-hmm.
You're the same guy that doesn't have any understanding of the Epstein files and why they aren't released. So Richard was one of the good guys. Not anymore. The mood is shifting across the United States. People are finally seeing the so-called closest allies, what it was, not a partner, but a liability, can no longer be excused or ignored. He's saying he hates Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what you're right about. If you want to play the blame the Jews game, then you're a conspirator like all the other morons. The number one conspiracy of all time is blame the Jews. And it's always the Goy who have perpetrated the very harm that they are falsely projecting on the Jews. So, Richard, you will will reap what you have sown.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hope for you. You've swallowed the poison, and now you're distributing the poison. Oh wow, we've gone a long time here. So we'll just say goodbye on Islamic. Islam is a satanic death cult. That is true. Allah is Satan. That is also true. Muhammad wasn't so much a false prophet as he was no prophet. He was a rapist and a pedophile and a terrorist and a con man and a thief, mass murderer, slaver, human trafficker. He was the most repulsive human who ever lived. But nothing of Islam would even be known today, all of those things being correct, if it hadn't been for rabbis selling Muhammad Talmud readings that made the Quran seem like a religious book. Mm-hmm. So you want to blame Islam on someone, you can't blame it on some illiterate fool as ruthless and stupid as Muhammad. Islam is vicious today because of what rabbis did.
No.
Their own worst.
So we'll end
enemy.
our program on that. And by the way, if you want irrefutable proof of who Allah is, who Muhammad is, and what rabbis did to make the Quran seem like a religious book, there's 4,200 pages of irrefutable documented proof at yadaya.com. You don't even have to read. They will talk to you. Go to the series called Goddamn Religion, and you will find it all. So sorry for talking so long. I was so pleased that we had an uninterrupted stream there, Will. I've bent your ear.
Rich did a good job.
Yeah, Rich did a good job.
We had
He always does a good job, that Rich.
42 stream saves and 13 seamless failovers, meaning it totally failed on one of the sides, but it brought it over to the other one. And so
what he's saying is that we had 42 saves.
Yep.
And in one case, we had a one of the satellites completely failed on us, and yet the other picked up the slack. And
the failovers were
the
caught.
failovers.
And you can see there's a couple times we got a little digital noise, and then it quickly did what it was supposed to do.
Rich, it's alive. You did it.
It's alive. It's working. Now I just get the rest of the internal network to work and stringed in naturally, and all the old switches replaced. And we might even try. Has anybody tried 3 of these things?
We can actually have up to 5. Yeah.
Wow, I'm thinking. What? The money that's still in the accounts. What good is it going to do anybody? It's let's go.
Can't take it with you, right?
Let's get it. Yeah, can't take it with us.
I got to find a router that'll support 3 or 4.
Oh, so the router you have is only.
It only does 2.
Only does 2.
It'll bond 2, but I could technically, within the account, I could still tie a cell phone to this and another Wi-Fi system that was separate. So yeah, I might find a way.
I don't know. We'll have to see if we can get a third to be just even more stable. But one of the problems is we are on an island, and therefore we're reliant on Starlink. And Starlink is like everything that Elon Musk does. He gets it up. He has no customer service. It's totally overhyped. It's typically neglected. And while I'm glad that we have it, it's better than nothing. Sometimes it's no better than nothing, and it's a typical Elon Musk. I've got too many irons in the fire, and I don't even know what blaze to
Too many irons
douse.
in the fire and a chip in my head.
Yeah, and a chip in my head. And stock to hype that are priced 100 times what they should be, and who are going to fall 99% in the next few years. Yeah, he's not going to be the wealthiest man on the planet.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, all of
Thank
you,
you.
all 3, for making this happen. We'll be with you later this afternoon. We didn't do one yesterday, so I could continue to work on Written in Stone, and so that Rich could implement his system. And we'll see. Rich may bring the system down to get everything glued together, and if he does, then we'll sacrifice the afternoon show to have more stability going forward. So we'll see how that plays out. But that was the reason yesterday. All right. Thank you. So
Good enough.
bye.
Thanks.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.